To St. George North, a devout father, a devout husband, a family man, a God-fearing man, a main branch of the Reifer family tree, the Democratic Labour Party standard bearer in this constituency and in this by-election, and of course, I want to add, with God's divine guidance, the next representative for the constituency of St. George North. The bugle of political war has been sounded. All Dems are ordered to report for duty. The battle of democracy, the rekindling of the battle of democracy begins right here in the constituency of St. George North. And when it is over, when the battle noises subside, the returning officer will announce on the 11th of November that the name Floyd Lamont Reifer as the duly elected member for the constituency of St. George North. And with God's grace and guidance, that will be so. I speak it tonight. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we will be prosecuting and excoriating and exposing the Barbados Labour Party in general and Tony Moore in particular. We will be promoting, endorsing and recommending and offering to you Floyd Lamont Reifer to the residents and constituents of St. George North as a candidate worthy of your support, capable of representing your interests in and outside of Parliament, and equipped to champion the several causes that you will present to him as he represents you as his Member of Parliament for St. George North. This meeting here tonight at Newbury will, among many things, bring attention to the despotic, dictatorial, authoritarian tendencies that has crept into the body politics of Barbados. Avarice and greed is alive and well in Barbados and can be located at the headquarters of the Barbados Labour Party on Robert Street. And tonight, we will be exposing that for what it is, because we are heading down a dangerous slope in Barbados and one that has to be halted. And therefore, the Democratic Labour Party is the only party that stands between despotic behavior, dictatorial behavior, and authoritarian behavior between you and the Barbados Labour Party. A classic example I want to bring to you before I bring on our first speaker, because we have an array of wonderful speakers here tonight, a panoply, I dare add, that will bring, of course, the kind of tone to this meeting, one that is wholesome and above board. I can assure you that this platform throughout this campaign will be wholesome and uplifting, and tonight will be no different whatsoever. A classic example, I'm talking about this despotic, dictatorial behavior in this country. The Barbadians went to the polls on the 23rd of May 2018. And in their conscious wisdom, they gave every single seat to the Barbados Labour Party. This Democratic Labour Party has absolutely no problem with that, because the voice of the people is the voice of God. And if the people of Barbados decided that all the seats should go to the the Barbados Labour Party, we have no problem with that. But let me tell you something. 30 seats were given to the Barbados Labour Party. A few weeks into their rule, one Bishop Atherley withdrew his support and went across the aisles of Parliament and formed his own party and became the leader of the opposition, leaving them with 29 seats. The Senate, as constructed and configured according to the Constitution, gave the Barbados Labour Party, has always given the Barbados Labour Party, 12 seats. The Senate is made up of 21 members, 12 for the government, 7 independent senators, and 2 for the opposition. So in total, the Barbados Labour Party now has 28 members in the lower house and 12 members in the upper house, the Senate, giving them a grand total of seats in both houses of parliament, in a bicameral parliament, 40 seats, imagine that. They have 40 seats. But you can imagine the Barbados Labour Party with 40 seats and its leader, and of course those at the steering wheel of the Barbados Labour Party. They are not satisfied that they have 28 seats in the lower house, 12 seats in the upper house, giving a grand total of 40 seats. They look into the independent senators. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to be reminded of this. And first of all, they picked off Senator Althea Wiggins Rock. Picked her off. 40 seats were not enough for them. They picked off Althea Wiggins Rock and made her the ambassador to Suriname. So they now have 41 seats all told. That didn't end there. They gazed around and picked up the fact that Tony Moore was an easy take. So they put their hands on Tony Moore also in the Senate, in the independent senators, those appointed by Her Excellency, the Governor General. So they now have a grand total of 42 seats in both houses of Parliament. I want to say tonight to you, ladies and gentlemen, why would the people of St. George North add to those 42 seats that the Barbados Labour Party now has under their belt? I believe that the democracy in Barbados is under severe threat, and the people of St. George North must come to the party and ensure that democracy remains alive and well in this country. They must ensure, because we are heading down a slippery slope. As a matter of fact, I say we are already down the slippery slope with 42 seats allocated to one party in Barbados. The Democratic Labour Party has absolutely done, and the PDP have 2, of course, in the Senate and 1 in the lower house. That is a lopsided democracy in any language, in any country, any part of the world, and that has to be corrected, and it must start here in the constituency of St. George North. Tonight, as I said, we have an array of wonderful speakers with different messages to bring to you tonight. And I have the pleasure tonight to introduce our first speaker. He's a young man with a burning desire to serve this country and to serve this party. He's our spokesperson on business and commerce and entrepreneurship. He's a future Democratic Labour Party parliamentarian, and I bring to you tonight no other than Mr. Ryan Walters to deliver his address. Come on, Ryan.
Good night, comrades. Good night, Newbury and surrounding areas. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to commence my presentation tonight by asking the question, what is this by-election all about? What is this by-election all about? The Barbados Labour Party has made a vacancy for a parliamentarian representative in the constituency of St. George North. Why will they prematurely stop representation for the constituents of St. George North just after 2.5 years in office? By Glenn Clark's own admission, he said he did not do much between 2008 and 2018. He is blaming the Democratic Labour Party for his failings. Why then does the government not give him the chance to make wrong things right? The truth is that this is a so-called strategic move by the Barbados Labour Party. A strategic move to reward a person who has used their position, who has used their influence to assist the Barbados Labour Party in an electoral victory in 2018. As simple as that. This by-election is not about Glen Clark. It is not about the constituents of St. George North. It is about rewarding Tony Moore and handing her a gift. And they believe that this is a gift of a safety. But Floyd Reifer and the Democratic Labour Party is going to prove them wrong. This is no safety. The Barbados Labour Party is arrogant bunch. They have moved ahead with this campaign by choosing the Prime Minister's pick and forcing the Prime Minister's pick first on the branch and secondly on the constituents of St. George North. While others have been working hard in this constituency, up and down, in front and behind of Glen, they were waiting and working hard for their chance, but it did not come because Tony Moore must be given her reward for her stewardship against the members of the workers' union that she represents and for the Barbados Labour Party. They must be crucified, and the crucifixion is at the polls on November 11th, so go out and vote for Floyd Reifer. The Barbados Labour Party is scampering today. What was supposed to be easy has now proven difficult, ladies and gentlemen. The Democratic Labour Party is not letting up. The Barbados Labour Party has made some fundamental mistakes. They have called this by-election at the wrong time, and they have called it for the wrong reason. And it is for this alone that I am asking the constituents of St. George North to prove to them that you have common sense, that you have your own intelligence, that because Mayor Amor Morley hugs somebody and bring them to you, that you don't have to accept that person. Vote Floyd Reifer and the Democratic Labour Party on November 11th. Floyd has joined the Democratic Labour Party in a time when most people would not have. Not because he is seeing some great opportunity in the making, but rather he sees the opportunity to represent the working class of this country. He sees the opportunity to come and serve the constituents of St. George North. This is what Floyd is doing today. He is standing up and stepping up when a lot of people will not. Floyd is offering himself as a viable, honest, and committed member of the Democratic Labour Party to the constituents of St. George. Furthermore, we all must agree that the DLP is at a major disadvantage politically. We have no seats in Parliament. We have no funding from the government. We have very few voices on our behalf. Our backs are against the wall, but this has not stopped Floyd Reifer from stepping up, from standing up on behalf of the people of St. George North. I salute Floyd for his bravery, his passion, and his commitment, and he must be commended. And again, I keep encouraging you tonight to go and vote for Floyd Reifer on November 11th. For too long now, listen to me carefully, for too long now, the Democratic Labour Party has allowed the loose talk and the propaganda of the Barbados Labour Party to turn the constituents of St. George North and Barbados against the Democratic Labour Party. It ends tonight. It ends in this by-election. I promise you that from now on, we will stand up, we will come to your defense, and we will not leave you or forsake you. If you have felt this way before, I apologize for that. But I am committing to you that I will do all in my power, Floyd will do all in his power, Verla Depeiza will do all in her power, and the Democratic Labour Party will do all in its power to stand up for the people of Barbados. This government has had too much leeway, and it ends with this by-election. It ends with taking St. George North home. Vote Floyd Reifer. Arrogance and disregard is at the top of the Barbados Labour Party agenda. They act like we do not have any sense. They act like they did not increase the bus fares to $3.50 from $2. They act like if they did not implement a sewage tax that appears every single day, even if you don't have running water. They act as though they did not implement a fuel tax that every time you drive into the gas station, you have to pay, almost doubling what you would pay if you had to just pay the road tax. They act as though they did something to control the skyrocketing prices in the supermarket. The people in Barbados may be silent, but tonight, the Democratic Labour Party will speak out. These are the daily hardships that the people in Barbados are facing. And the BLP, in its arrogance, is walking around telling you that they have improved your lives. That is the height of arrogance, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, expect the Barbados Labour Party to blame all of their bad economic decisions on COVID. But they will not tell you about the failed economic stimulus package of April 29th, when they announced a $2 billion stimulus package to rescue Barbados as the economy comes out of shutdown. $2 billion in economic stimulus package. Most of the capital works projects identified in this package did not even get off of the ground. These were projects that the government did not even have control over. They couldn't dictate when to start, stop, pause, increase, anything. But yet, they are presented a $2 billion stimulus package to rescue Barbados. Nothing happened. A lot of those same projects have not even broken ground today. And the things that they had in their control, this is what they did. They said, we are going to put $200 million in the tourism sector. It will help for the tourism owners to refurbish their places, and then the Prime Minister will spruce up the place so that when the tourism economy reopens, we will look very good. Ladies and gentlemen, that program did not even have the backing from any financial institution or the IDB, and it never got off the ground. $200 million of nothing. They went further. They said, we are going to produce a cash flow for businesses because cash is king. And they set up a $40 million VAT loan fund. We have heard nothing about the government on any amounts disbursed from this fund. So we are left to assume that no money was spent in that fund either. They said they're going to take care of small business. And they pledged $20 million in a small business wage support fund so that small businesses can tap in, get low interest rate loans, and be able to pay some wages for a little time. They reported that they spent $1 million out of $20 million in the small business wage fund. They offered some NAS benefit to those self-employed persons that paid NAS prior to COVID. In summary, the Barbados Labour Party spent $5 million. $5 million out of $2 billion to resuscitate this economy. There should be shame. The sad thing about this is that there were no extensions to any of the programs for businesses. The businesses had no opportunity to go after a certain time to ask for assistance. And COVID has gone nowhere. This signals the intention of the government not to spend any money on businesses and not to keep people employed. The government has forgotten that small businesses represent 92% of formal businesses in Barbados. They have also forgotten that small businesses represent 60% of employment in Barbados. Common sense and simple math would make you think that if you keep small business open, you will keep employment going, even in the absence of tourism. Persons will have to go to work. You got to get a cashier. You got to get somebody to pack the shelves. You got to get somebody, a little security guard. You have to get janitorial services. At lunch, persons will be able to go down the road and buy a hamburger, go and buy a hot dog. When they go home, they could go to the mini mart. They could go up by the side shop. These are the things that would help Barbados to survive under these COVID conditions. Because money will be circulating, people will be employed, and everybody will try their best to survive on ends meet. That was the failed economic stimulus package. Now, they went to proroguing of Parliament to supposedly bring a new direction to the people. That was a waste of time. The only thing they came up with was another acronym. You move from BERT to BOSS to BESS. I don't really think that the Barbados Labour Party understands the hardship and the uncertainty that prevails in St. George North and in Barbados. The BESS program will place $300 million in the hotel sector. And it is intended for a hotelier to take this money, bring their employees back to work, pay them 80% of what they used to earn, pay the NAS out of that money, pay the PAYE out of that money, pay the employer NAS out of that money, while they are not earning an income. How many hoteliers are going to bring people in to turn on the AC and turn on the pipe and flush toilets? How many hoteliers are going to bring employees in when there's no revenue coming in? This is another tactic from the Barbados Labour Party to kick the can down the road. Why aren't they seeing it fit to deal with the affected workers directly? Why can't they consider extending the NAS for these workers? If they extend the NAS for these workers for 6 months, it will cost the government less than 1/3 of $300 million. But what it will ensure that every single person is taken care of freely and not left to the discretion of one business owner. That is what it will do. But where is Tony Moore on these issues? You do not see Tony Moore mounting a platform on behalf of the workers of the union, but she is mounting a platform for the people of St. George North to vote for her. There are a lot of unresolved issues in this country. Do not let the Barbados Labour Party pull wool over your eyes. I am asking you, when you see a dem in the newspaper, when you see a dem in the newspaper, do not turn the page, read the story. When you see a dem on social media, take 3 or 5 minutes and watch the video. Listen to our message. Do not worry about the messenger, because we are here for you. We are going to stand up on your behalf, and we will make sure that you are not victimized, because we know victimization is very real, and we are willing to stand up on behalf of the people of Barbados. I am asking you tonight to vote for Floyd Reifer and the Democratic Labour Party on November 11th. A vote for Floyd is a vote for democracy, a vote for representation of each and every constituent, a man that will not sell out his constituents for his own personal interest. He will get the job done because his heart is in the right place. Tony Moore is a sellout. She cannot be trusted by the workers' union, and you should not give her the opportunity to represent the people of St. George North. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, the three acronyms used by the Barbados Labour Party need to be put in context. Stay the course, boss, and best. I want to tell you tonight that if we stay on this course, it will be to our disadvantage because the Barbados Labour Party are bosses of deception. And as for best, the best thing to do is for you to vote for change and proper, honest representation. Vote for Floyd Reifer and the Democratic Labour Party. Good night, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Ryan Walters. Well done. A young and promising prospect for the Democratic Labour Party. And you can hear a lot more from that young man. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask the driver of MA7601 to please move your car. You're blocking the entrance to somebody's driveway. MA7601. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue tonight to bring you the gospel according to the Democratic Labour Party, you know, you always know when the Barbados Labour Party is in trouble. I understand they're at their meeting tonight talking about Floyd's good looks. Now, I hope that it is one of the females on the platform that is talking about Floyd's good look. But you also know that they're in trouble, real trouble, when they dress up Brady, resurrect him from his slumber, dress him up and put him on stage to spew some of the most vitriol, the abuse, the nastiness, the threats, of course. A lot of people looked at the other thing that he was saying, that of course he's getting a lot of licks on social media on, but he also threatened to rip out Floyd Reifer's throat. Now, Brady is a man that I follow in the Barbados Labour Party because there are not many, he's probably the only one that I like to focus some attention on, Brady. Because Brady is when Brady says he's going to rip out your throat, Brady is going to rip out your throat. You better believe it. He's a serious man, a man to his word. What he says is what he means. I believe that this threat is so serious that Floyd should really register a complaint with the Royal Barbados Police Force.
My fellow Barbadians and St. George North.
Because Brady is not one of these people or one of these MPs in the Barbados Labour Party that when they make promises they don't keep.
The reality is, this
Brady, when Brady threat, no, he's that kind of man. He's a man to his word.
People of St. George North, because the option presented to you, in my opponent, Tony Moore, falls short of the expectation of so many, not only in this constituency, but
because when you rip out somebody's throat, you're going to rupture their windpipe. You're going to also rupture their swallow pipe. And of course, their esophagus will collapse. And that can cause death. That can cause death, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to be very careful with this ripping out of the throat. And I feel that Floyd should register a complaint with the Royal Barbados Police Force because this is a serious threat coming from a man who keeps his word. He's a reliable politician. He keeps his word. What he says he means and what he means he says. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring on our next speaker here tonight. He was a member of parliament, of course, and also a member of cabinet. From 2010 to 2018, a member of the cabinet. He's the former Minister of Culture and Sports. He led the team, of course, overseas in Barbados, achieving the UNESCO World Heritage status. With Bridgetown and its garrison, it was a tremendous effort on his part, along with his team, bringing that kind of world-class notification to Barbados. He ushered in the cultural industries legislation. He championed it along with the officers in his ministry. And he also provided the enabling paradigm shift to the cultural industries and the cultural industries practitioners. He also superintended a wonderful, successful Barbados Carifesta just a few years ago. I have the greatest pleasure in inviting to the podium, and I want you to help me welcome him, Mr. Stephen Lashley.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies, Steve Blackett. I want to first of all say a good night to the residents of this community, St. George North. And I want to say a special welcome to all of the supporters of the Democratic Labour Party who are here tonight. You should give yourself a big round of applause for your stewardship and your support continuously. But tonight, of course, my purpose here tonight is to register a profound endorsement of the candidature Floyd Reifer in this constituency. And forgive me if I don't spend a lot of time on the Barbados Labour Party, because I believe that the public and social media are doing what is necessary with the commentary coming from the Barbados Labour Party. This election is a significant one for all Barbadians. And I want to say to you tonight that it is not happenstance that we have in this constituency someone of the caliber of Floyd Reifer, who has put his hand in the air and he has said, I am ready to serve. And much of what I have to say tonight will be targeted and aimed at the residents of this constituency, because I believe that they are waiting very patiently to have their say. They have not been saying much, but I have been able to glean quite a bit of the responses and feedback from the residents of this constituency as I move around and listen to what they have to say. Now you tell me tonight, because I believe none of us would have imagined that we would be involved in an election campaign so soon after a general election. And I want to put the election campaign in its context. Ryan, of course, mentioned a bit of it, but I want to also say that this by-election has come about because the Barbados Labour Party has indicated that it cannot continue through the duly elected Member of Parliament for the entirety of the 5 years. So they have called a by-election, and they have, in so doing, signaled that the last representative of this constituency is no longer interested in representing the people of St. George North. What does that mean for all of the residents of this constituency? They have now to make a decision. They have to make a decision, and I believe that decision has got to be one in the interests of the residents of St. George North. We've already seen the Barbados Labour Party making a decision in their interests. There is no reason why you have had to cut short the period in office of a duly elected MP to place before the people someone who is already a leader of a workers' union. Now you tell me, what difference will the leader of the Barbados Workers' Union make in the Parliament of Barbados that she cannot make by remaining as the head of the Barbados Workers' Union? Is there a difference? Now I believe that at this time, we need in Barbados strong workers' representatives. We need a Barbados Workers' Union that is working on behalf of the people and the workers of Barbados. And I believe that the people of St. George North have a very pristine opportunity of having a bit of both worlds. I believe they can keep the leader of the Barbados Workers' Union where she is now, and come November the 11th, elect in Floyd Reifer one of their own who will represent them in the Parliament of Barbados. I believe that that is the best solution to what has been created in Barbados in this by-election. But I want to spend some time focusing on Floyd Reifer, because I believe that this election is about what has been signaled in the personality of Floyd Reifer. Don't mind what is being said on the other side. I want you to pay attention to what the people of St. George North are saying about Floyd Reifer. Don't be misguided or misled by what is being said on that side. I believe that Floyd Reifer and the Democratic Labour Party are interested in presenting a platform of explaining to the people of St. George North what voting for Floyd Reifer means for them. And if you look at Floyd Reifer's history, his career past, you will recognize that he has been an outstanding cricketer. He has captained the West Indies team. He has been involved in the development of cricket at the University of the West Indies. And he has been one of the leaders involved in the 2019 World Cup cricket. But more than that, as I move across this constituency, people are saying to me that they know Floyd Reifer and Floyd Reifer know them. So when you hear things being said about Floyd Reifer, you have to understand the context. You know, the old people used to say that you only throw stones at what? You only throw stones at what? At ripe mangoes, right? You only throw stones at ripe mangoes. And you have Floyd Reifer, who is from among you, the people of this constituency. You know Floyd Reifer, and Floyd Reifer know you. What touched me significantly as I canvass in parts of this constituency is that people identify Floyd Reifer as a humble young man. They identify in him the skills that are necessary in a representative of the people. When I asked them to vote for Floyd Reifer, They said to me, well, we know him already. When I asked them for their numbers, their contact information, they said, no, we can get hold of Floyd. We know him. They have already given Floyd Reifer the most significant endorsement that he can ever ask for. And I believe that come November the 11th, they are going to make a historic decision in Barbados. They are going to decide in favor not of a stranger, not of someone who has been handpicked and presented to the residents of St. George North, but I believe that the people of St. George North are going to make a decision to act in their own best interests by electing to the House of Assembly none other than Floyd Reifer. And that come the 11th of November, there will be a new representative of the people of St. George North. Now, let us face the facts. About 2.5 years ago, I am sure that the people of St. George North would not have known that they have to look for a new representative. They would not have known that. So 2.5 years later, they are faced with a decision. And I want to say to you, the people of St. George North, do not be intimidated by what is being said on the other side. You have said to us that you want Floyd Reifer in this constituency. And the difference between that endorsement and what is being offered on the other side is that you have made the selection. You have seen in Floyd Reifer someone who you believe that you can trust, who you don't have to do anything with. You don't have to make him over. You don't have to make over Floyd Reifer. Floyd Reifer has come from among you, the residents of St. George North. He is one of you, and therefore you should not be afraid to stand up and defend your own. Now, people ask the question, what will Floyd Reifer bring to this constituency? But he has started to bring it already. I have never seen someone with the amount of energy, the amount of sincerity that I have seen in Floyd Reifer. From the moment that Floyd decided that he will offer himself as a candidate in this by-election, he has hit the ground running. He has not only hit the ground running, but he has asked you, the residents, to bat with Floyd. And that is significant, because he's saying to you that he is going to be there alongside of you. He will not desert you, and he will ensure that the issues that you face, that he will be a conduit to raise them and advocate for change in this constituency. So I want to say to the residents of this constituency tonight that come November the 11th, I am taking you at your word, because you have said to us that you are not happy with the way in which the parliament is configured tonight. You cannot lose. You cannot lose in electing Floyd Reifer. The parliament already has a significant majority. All you will be doing is making a statement not only for the wider democracy, but making a statement in your best interest. So as I wind up tonight, I am applauding the residents of St. George North. I am commending you for your decision to embrace your own in Floyd Reifer, and I am saluting you in accepting your own son of the soil and in going to the polls in your numbers on November the 11th and doing what you want to do. That is to elect and to elect again and to elect again none other than Floyd Reifer. Let's hear it for Floyd Reifer. Let us support Floyd Reifer and let us support the Democratic Labour Party. God bless you all and good night.
Right, thank you very much, Stephen. Let me sanitize this mic before. Right, thanks very much, Stephen, for endorsing Floyd Reifer and promoting him, as we all are on this platform tonight. And of course, leaving off from where, or picking up from where Stephen left off, asking the question of what would an additional seat for the Barbados Labour Party do in this constituency? Would it reduce the many arrear taxes, the onerous taxes that have been imposed on Barbadians? Would an additional seat help with the onerous taxes that have been levied on Barbadians since 2018? Would an additional seat for the Barbados Labour Party reduce the inflation rate of 5% every time you go in these supermarkets? You see the prices going through the roof. Would an additional seat, this St. George North seat, would it reduce the unemployment rate, which is now hovering around 40%, with over 40,000 people unemployed? Would it, additional seat, would it help in reducing the over $100 million being paid out by the National Insurance to the unemployed in Barbados? Would it improve the 15% decline in the economy? Would an additional seat do that for this country? Would it infuse life into the economic sectors in Barbados, now in a free fall? Would an additional seat, would this additional seat in St. George North do that? Would it assist in repaying the over $2 billion that the Barbados Labour Party, since 2018, when they came to office, went out and borrowed from the IMF, from the IDB, from the CAF, from the CDB, rack up over $2 billion in debt? Would an additional seat in St. George North help to reduce or help pay that? Would it improve the woeful governance in this country with everything they attempt to do, the reversing? Would that help with an additional seat? I say to you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, all the Democratic Labour Party supporters before me and the residents within the hearing of my voice, would an additional seat for the Barbados Labour Party help any of those issues that I just addressed? And I say no. Therefore, you have to turn your attention and put your X squarely against the name of Floyd Lamont Reifer on the 11th of November when you go into that polling station. I'm going to bring to you another young man among our membership. He's a former senator in the last Democratic Labour Party administration. He's an unshakable member of this Democratic Labour Party and a future parliamentarian, I dare say, in the making. I bring to you former Senator Worrell.
Good night to the residents of St. George North and the lovely Democratic Labour Party family that I see out here tonight. This is a lovely crowd in support of the best candidate for St. George North, and that candidate is Floyd Reifer. None of you should have any doubts being here tonight because you know that you are backing a man with credibility. You know that you are backing a man that you can trust. You know that you are backing a man who will not betray you, who will not sell out the workers. You are backing a man who will be an excellent representative for St. George North, and that person is Floyd Reifer. And I am happy to stand on this platform tonight to speak on behalf of Floyd Reifer and to speak to you, the residents of St. George North, because if you have not made up your mind, I will help you to make it clear to you that when you go to the polls on November 11th to vote for Floyd Reifer, you are actually doing me a favor. Because right now, we ought not to be here in this by-election. Many of you are wondering, why was this by-election called? In the middle of a COVID pandemic, why do we in Barbados need to have a by-election? The Member of Parliament was not sick. He didn't say that he was ailing and needed to step down from his seat. He didn't say that he wanted to retire. Quite frankly, before he was forced out of the position, he said that he intended to run again, and he was looking forward to continue in his seat and represent the good people of St. George North. So then why are we here tonight? Why, when the Prime Minister and the government should be spending time dealing with the economic challenge that we have in Barbados, is she using this by-election as a distraction to turn your gaze from the fact that thousands of people in Barbados are not working? To turn your gaze from the fact that thousands of people were laid off since March, and some of them had difficulty getting their unemployment benefits, which were rightfully due to them. To turn your gaze from the fact that the hotel workers do not know now where they stand in terms of their severance, and there is no one speaking out for them. Even to turn your gaze from the fact that domestic workers in Barbados could be at peril when they work in a villa for someone who came into Barbados on the Welcome Program, because you have seen over the last couple of weeks what a fiasco it has created in Barbados at a time when we thought that our number of COVID cases were down, or we weren't having any new cases in the island. But you have a domestic worker going to work to earn $1, and as a result of that, contracted the COVID virus and taken it back home to her family. And as a result of that, a number of her family members became infected, and you had to shut down an entire school. Now, in all of this, did any of you hear a word from Tony Moore as the General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union, and someone who should be representing the workers, and in particular the domestic workers? Did you hear a single word from her crying out for this government to do better by the workers of Barbados? Any of you heard a word from her? Exactly. But that is the same person that Mayor Motley wants to force upon you to make you think that she would be a good representative for you. When she cannot even do her primary job properly, she wants to give her a secondary job to do in being the representative for you. She did not represent the workers of Barbados properly. She is in Parliament now. She has the ear of the Prime Minister, and she did not utter a word to say, look, what you are doing with this Welcome Stamp program could put a number of domestic workers at risk, and you need to put protocols in place to make sure that those persons are protected. None of that came from Tony Moore. So how, if she cannot do her primary job as the leader of the largest trade union in Barbados to represent the workers, if she could not be effective in doing that job, how then can she take on a second job of trying to be the representative for you, the people of St. George North? You know, if you allow that to happen, you will be shortchanged. And that is why the Democratic Labour Party has brought a candidate for you to replace Glenn Clark, and that candidate, that representative, is Floyd Reifer. Floyd would have you, the residents of St. George North, as your single focus, as his single focus. He will not try to sell you out, and he will not betray you. He will not sell you out as you were sold out prior to 2018. Do you remember? Prior to 2018, when the workers in Barbados wanted a salary increase, and the government of the time was willing to give them a reasonable salary increase. You had a representative, well, to be fair, both trade unions stuck out for an unreasonable amount. But you had Miss Tony Moore, who was the leader of one of the largest trade unions at that time, sticking out for an unreasonable amount as a salary increase for the workers of Barbados. And she was unwilling to compromise and to work with the government to make sure that the civil servants at the time received a salary increase, and also they would have received it with back pay. But instead, Ms. Moore stuck out for an unreasonable amount up to 2018, and we wondered why. We all wondered why. Why would Ms. Moore do this to the people of Barbados? Why would Ms. Moore do this to the workers? When she wanted to give you the impression that the workers were feeling hardship and they needed an increase, if she had taken 15%, which was on the table, or 10%, which was on the table, I am certain that many of the workers in Barbados would have been comfortable with it, because that increase would have also come with back pay for the 7 or so years for which the salary increase was due. But no, Ms. Moore encouraged the workers not to take it. She encouraged you to march. March against it. March against the government. Vote out the government. And then what did she do in return once her people came in? She took less. A whole lot less. She basically took nothing. And you, the workers of Barbados, ended up with nothing. Because the salary increase that you got in one hand, with the taxes that may slap in one of the backs, it was taken with the other hand. And you got nothing. You got less than a 4% salary increase, and you got no back pay to go along with it. And she wants you to believe that she cares for you and she is a good representative for the workers. She is not. Next charge against Ms. Moore. Now, when the government came to office, on a mantra that Mayor cares, the first group of people who realized that Mayor really cared too much about me were the women. Because you remember all of the clerical officers who were sent home, and many of them were sent home and being promised that you're going to get a job doing a little data entry and stuff like that. Up to now, a lot of those women are still waiting to be called back for that data entry job. And this is 2 years now that they have been home. And a lot of those women, the clerical workers who were sent home, were persons in their 40s or 50s or close to retirement. And it is not easy for them to go back into the workforce at that age, because many people are not willing to employ persons at that age. And she offset a number of people in their lives. Their planning, they had to change their plans, could not necessarily provide for their family, found it difficult to either pay their mortgages or to get a mortgage. But where was the voice of Tony Moore in that situation, arguing for those workers? You have not heard her. But we know today why we have not heard Tony Moore. Because all along from 2016, it seemed as though Tony Moore was promised this fatted calf of St. George North. And you, the people of St. George North, must make sure that she is not rewarded for her treachery by walking up the steps of Parliament after the 11th of November and taking a seat as the representative of St. George North. She is not deserving of it, and you ought not to reward a person for treachery. You ought to reward someone who is willing to work for you and who is willing to represent you and who is going to be upfront with you. And that person definitely is not Tony Moore. That person is Floyd Reifer. Let the name ring in your head tonight. Floyd Reifer, the name that you must remember when you go to the polls on the 11th of November. Now, the Barbados Labour Party, they're good at it. They will come around and they will promise you the sun, the moon, the stars, everything to convince you to give them that vote for Tony Moore. But if they promise you something or if they give you something, I want you tonight to take it. But when you get in that polling booth, you make sure that you vote with your heart. And you put your X next to the name of the man that you know will be the best representative for you, and that is Floyd Reifer. So take whatever they bring, listen to them, take whatever they bring in their drawers, but vote for your future, vote for your children, and vote for a good representative in Floyd Reifer. Put that X next to his name. Because they're not deserving of keeping this seat. They had no right to give it up in the first place. You are giving it up in a situation where you are taking a man in his sunset time, the twilight of his years, and you are sending him off into the cold for a job that I consider he already passed already. Why not allow Mr. Clark to retire at home with his family instead of picking him up and sending him into the cold, into a country that has a high alert for COVID at this time? Could Mayor Motley really care for Glenn Clark? If this role was so special, why didn't she offer it to Ambassador at Large, Dame Billy Miller? Because she had a number of persons that she could have offered it to. Why was it necessary to take Glenn Clark from a comfortable position to send him out in the cold where we don't know what will happen to him? He could have stayed here, but you know all that is happening is that Mayor Motley wants to make sure that she is surrounded with yes men and people that she can do whatever she feels like with. And Tony Moore is another one of those yes people. And that is the reason why she's making sure that she's clearing a path. And you would recognize that in Barbados over the last couple of years from 2018, you have been getting a number of things that we did not bargain for. None of us bargained that the government would have all 30 seats, but I'm certain many of us regret it today because a lot of decisions were made and passed in Barbados, which if the government had a strong opposition to challenge them, they would not have brought them to Parliament. Didn't think that the mayor that cares for you would reach into your pocket and take out $3.50 for bus fare. It is hard on many of you. You did not think that it would happen. When many of you voted for Mia because she cared, you did not think that your water bill would have doubled in the amount. Many of you were paying a water bill for $36 or so. Now you have to pay a water bill for over $70-something. And it's going up and it's going up. And not only that, but she made the residents of St. John, where I am from, pay the water bill, but none of us were getting any water. Every single month, Mia that cares send us a water bill, but was not sending any water through the taps. But ye all thought that that was Mia that cared. We never thought that would happen to us. We never thought that the Barbados Labour Party would cause the people of Barbados to suffer like that. And the same party that marched in white when the government of the day were trying to just send home a few people, with the stroke of a pen, you know how many hundreds of thousands of people in Barbados were sent home under this government, and it had nothing at all to do with COVID? She went into CBC, and all of the good journalists from there she sent home. And now you can't even get proper programming coming out of CBC because she took away the lifeblood and the backbone of CBC. And not just CBC, but a number of the statutory corporations in Barbados as well. Sent home people left, right, and center. People from St. George North, I am certain, worked at the gymnasium. She shut it down without a care. People from St. George North, some of you are at Transport Board, she sent home people left, right, and center. She sent home people from the BAMC, from the BADMC, everywhere in Barbados. Nowhere in Barbados was spared. Every single job and every single household of Barbados felt the wrath of Bert and felt the wrath of Mia Motley that is supposed to care. And we must stop that. We must stop that. We must work towards bringing back democracy in Barbados. We must work towards bringing back democracy in Barbados, but not allowing Mia Motley to clutch this St. George seat after November 11. You have to put the Democratic Labour Party and Floyd Reifer in the House of Representatives so that you will have a voice that will speak out for you, the people of Barbados, for you, the workers, for you, the children, for the domestics, and for the people who do not have anyone in Barbados showing that they care. Right now, the only people in Barbados that Mia cares for are the big shots, the business class. And you're seeing it in the measures in which she's implementing. And if you happen to be a business person that she cares nothing about, she will come and she will take your property too. Because she did that with Miss Ram for the Hyatt. And right now, I believe that they're reaping what they sowed, because you want to see any work going on down there at the Hyatt? And imagine, now there were a stumbling block for the people of Barbados, stopping the Hyatt from the construction at the Hyatt from starting when the tourism sector in Barbados was robust and going well. But they delayed that project. They delayed it through Commission. He's another one just like Tony Moore. Another one just like Tony Moore. And it is no coincidence that Mayor Motley is surrounded by people like that. One just Commission, that every delay tactic to stall the Hyatt. Then when Mayor got in, all of a sudden the Hyatt is okay and it could go along. But you know what now? COVID came along and stopped that. So she was stopped in her tracks and she's reaping now what she sowed, because I will find it very hard to believe that any investor will pump millions of dollars into hundreds of millions of dollars into a tourism project like Hyatt when British Airways cannot even determine how long it will be able to continue flying in Barbados, when British Airways don't know how long they will continue to fly, when Virgin Atlantic isn't flying. We don't have the tourist numbers in Barbados to sustain a tourism project like that. So I am thinking that the persons who are financing that project are stalling it, because they're going to stall it until this whole COVID pandemic is out of the way, and they know that there is a future for it. But if they had not stalled it, if Commission had not stalled it, that project would have been started, the foundation would have been dug, hundreds of people, and possibly some of them from St. George North, would be working on a daily basis constructing that hotel on Bay Street. But they deprived you of that job. So she's reaping now what she has sowed, because she blocked every single part of economic development in Barbados during the time that she was in opposition, and now that she would want for some of those projects to be booming to help us to overcome the recession, they're not there. And then other areas as well too, they have no approach to response to COVID. Their response to COVID and this pandemic has been to throw money behind tourism, as was mentioned before. That is not necessarily going to be the driver to put people back to work. But when it comes to agriculture, and I'm certain that many of you, the residents of St. George North, that you do benefit from agriculture, you have not seen the financial support coming from the Barbados Labour Party for the agricultural sector. You have not seen the impetus for them to get the lands back into production. You have not seen the impetus for them to support you, the small people in Barbados, by putting money in your pocket to help you to plow the lands and get agriculture going again so that we can feed ourselves. And as a result of their disregard for agriculture, you are faced with a situation where you got to pay more than $3 and $4 a pound for sweet potatoes at a time where we should be getting it much cheaper, because a lot of that sweet potato should be coming from farmers in the St. George Basque area, which is a good part of the farming community. But all of that is happening because Mayor Motley does not have a plan. She does not have an idea. And as a result of that, she is throwing a number of distractions at you, the people of Barbados, to take your focus away. And one of those distractions is this by-election. And you have to make sure that at the end of this by-election, that she will not be so reckless with you again. Because you know what? You will go to the polls on the 11th of November, and you will vote for Floyd Reifer to make sure. You will call your family members, you will call your neighbors, and you will make sure that they understand that Floyd Reifer is the best chance and the best hope for the people of St. George North. And you will make sure that from early in the morning, they go to the polls on the 11th and they vote for Floyd Reifer, a man with good character, a man of integrity, and we do not want any more dealings with traitors. So tell Tony Moore that no more of her, go away. You want Floyd Reifer. You are batting with Reifer. So I thank you tonight, the people of St. George North, and I hope that you take home that message. Reifer is the man for you. You are batting with Reifer. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Andre, for putting the points clearly. For those of you who have joined us since we started, I just want to remind you that we're meeting here this evening under the theme for the people, from the people, in support and in promotion of the candidacy of Floyd Lamont Reifer as the Democratic Labour Party candidate in this by-election in St. George North. And of course, Andrea raised the subject of Tony Moore walking around and trying to put the argument that she is not the first person who would be, of course, mixing unionism with politics. She's certainly not the first person, but of course we had people like Grant D. Adams and Frank Walcott, Hugh Springer, Leroy Trotman, Bobby Morris, and O'Brien Trotman. But what we can say about those gentlemen is that they wore their politics on their sleeve. They weren't waiting around, lurking around in the dark, of course, and then presenting themselves 2.5 years later in a Barbados Labour Party government, coming out of the dark and aligning herself with the Barbados Labour Party. All of them wore their political stripes on their shirt sleeves. You could have said, well, he is a Dem, he's a B. But certainly, we couldn't say that of Tony Moore. She went down on Brown's Beach about 2 May days ago, and she lambasted the government, the last government, of course, and curse the former Prime Minister from that Stewart. Disrespected the Prime Minister. She went into Queen's Park along with Akani McDowell, led a march against, I don't know, there were so many marches during our tenure as government that I lost count on the number of marches. But she went into the Queen's Park with Akani McDowell and talking about up the thing when we were offering, of course, asking for 23%. We were offering less than that. And of course, as Andrea said, came back as soon as the Barbados Labour Party got into government and took 4.5%. And Mayor Motley was so sympathetic to them that she threw in an additional 0.5%, giving them 5% increase. She went into the park, I told you. She joined marches of the NSRL. Joined the march, a march that was planned by the merchants, not planned by the unions, planned by the merchants, and planned by the Barbados Labour Party. And them like, follow the leader, joined in behind the merchants. Never see the white merchants in Barbados mix in with the working class people and, of course, the workers' representations. She insisted, like I said, on 23%, but accepted 4.5%. She used the workers to destroy a worker-friendly government in the Democratic Labour Party. And she followed the blueprint of the 1816 Bussa Rebellion and the 1937 riots to bring down an elected government, a democratically elected government, in 2018. So she is completely different from all of those other leaders that I just talked about, Grattan Lee Adams and Frank Walcott, Hugh Springer, Leroy Trotman, Bobby Morris, and O'Brien Trotman. She, of course, hiding in the dark and then presenting herself as a Barbados Labour Party candidate 2.5 years later into a Barbados Labour Party administration. Tonight, we have some more speakers to bring to you. He is a former Member of Parliament for St. Philip South between 2008 and 2018. One of the finest attorneys general in Barbados, I want to add. Scholarly and, of course, result-oriented. He's focused and one of the finest and the first-rate legal eagles in Barbados. I bring to you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Adriel Brathwaite, former Attorney General of Barbados.
Gotta get rid of Steve of this mic. Good evening, St. George, or wherever my voice is being carried. I know that we're online. It's indeed a pleasure to be here to speak on behalf of Floyd Reifer. In fact, it's a very easy chore that I have undertaken and will continue until the 10th of November. And then on the 11th, I will be celebrating with you and with Floyd when he wins. Because you know that I am here to promote Floyd, I will not simply tell you that you should vote for Floyd. I am going to use my time to demonstrate to you why there is only one choice. If you want honesty, if you want integrity, why there is only one choice in this race for this general election. The Prime Minister of Barbados is quoted as saying recently that the Dems should be the last to talk about anything. And my message really tonight is about betrayal. Betrayal on the part of the candidate for the Barbados Labour Party, betrayal on the part of the outgoing MP, and betrayal on the part of the government. And I'm going to begin with the government because they want you to believe that there should be only one voice in this country. Indeed, everything that the Prime Minister is doing points to the fact that she wants to neuter, and I say that with a smile, any type of opposition in this country. I brought with me a friend from St. Philip who will come later, and he will elucidate on that point about our extreme concern about this Prime Minister's behavior. She says that we shouldn't talk about crime. Indeed, I was very happy to look just now and noted that almost all the commentaries with respect to her comment on crime were saying, stop looking back. We are more concerned about what are you going to do to arrest the criminal elements in this country. I thought, really, that they had the best opportunity to arrest crime in this country. Because in 2018, I saw a collection of criminals going into Parliament, celebrating their ascendancy. I thought then that they were going to sit down with those individuals and reach a truce so that crime would have disappeared in Barbados. But lo and behold, after the festivities, you know what happened? We had an increase in violent crime in this country. So they walked around Barbados. They spent lots of money with certain groups, gave them assurances, we're going to legalize marijuana, we're going to do everything possible. Anything anyone wanted, they promised. But lo and behold, it has nothing to do with Democrat Labour Party. We are still seeing more and more gun-related crime in this country up to last night. And we see it almost daily on our cell phones. It troubles all of us. So rather than look back, Prime Minister, you need to look within your cabinet, and the first thing you should do is get rid of your ineffective Attorney General. That's what you should do. Begin there. Because you will notice that neither of the two of them are saying anything about what plans they have to arrest this situation. The only focus has been the last Attorney General, the last government. But that does not help Barbados. That does not help you to feel safe in your homes. That does not help you when you go into the supermarket and one day someone can come and hold you up. So I'm begging you, Prime Minister, stop looking back and try to address the criminal elements in this country. Do it seriously. Tell them that you're sorry, that when you met with them, you just wanted the vote. But you can't give them all the things that you promised. And let's get rid of them. This Barbados that means so much to all of us, we need to get it back. We need once again for our people to feel safe. So the Dems must come out and speak. Floyd Reifer must come out and speak in St. George North. Because we cannot allow what is happening in this country to go unhindered, unabated, and unchallenged. We have a responsibility. Barbados is not just about the merchant class. Barbados is about you and I. Barbados is about the workers that we see all across St. George in the fields and hills. Because you know, of course, without St. George, there is no food. You go anywhere around here and you will see that every piece of land is green. And I don't mean green in terms of bush, green in terms of chives and onions and sweet potatoes, all kinds of vegetables. That's what St. George is known for. And we need our people to continue feeling safe that they can go about their business. So I say to you, the government has betrayed you. In 2017, they told you that they had all the answers. They told you that they had all the answers to crime. They had all the answers to our economy. And instead, what has happened is everything has gotten worse. Everything has gotten worse in every sector. But you know what? They have an excellent PR machinery. So you would not believe that Barbadians are worse off today than they were in 2018. But they're worse off. We're paying more for water. We're paying more for electricity. We're paying more for transportation. We're paying more for fuel. And I ask Barbadians continuously, are you better off in 2020 than you were in 2018? And the answer is no. Are you better off, were you better off in 2019 than you were in 2018? The answer is no. Everything that they put their hand on The only persons that I can say to you that I truly believe has benefited from the policies of this government is the merchant class. You look and you'll see, Republic Bank profits went up. First Caribbean profits went up. Massey profits went up. Your pocket, however, went down. Because even though they bragged about giving a 5% increase to civil servants, but lo and behold, with all the taxes that they did, you're actually in a worse financial situation than you were before the 5% increase. It was all taken away. So I honestly believe that you have to accept that there have been a betrayal on the part of this government. What they said they were going to do in 2017, they have not done at all. You are worse off today than you were before. I promise you that I was bringing a friend from St. Philip. You can see he's there and he will be coming soon to speak to you. But the betrayal goes beyond that. Because I heard some of my colleagues wondering why Glenn Clark is leaving at this point in time. But Glenn was asked to leave in 2017. And he said no. Because at that point in time, Mayor Motley was only the leader of the opposition. When there's a change in government in 2018, she again asked him to leave. And he said no. But lo and behold, she found out his price. And she realized that what he needed was 30 pieces of silver. So she arranged for Glenn to move to Ottawa. So I honestly believe, and it saddens me, that after 26 years, he had no right putting himself in a position where he could sell out the people of St. George North for 30 pieces of silver. And I want, when he comes around to you and asks you to vote for that woman, because that's what he calls her, not me, I call her Miss Moore, but he calls her that woman. When he comes around and asks you to vote for that woman, say to him, Glenn, we need to know the truth. Why are you leaving us at this point in time? And if he's honest with you, he will say, Adriel Brathwaite was right. I was made an offer, I was given 30 pieces of silver, and I sold you out. And when he tells you that, then the next thing for you to do is say, given that you sold us out, given that after 26 years, all it took was for someone to give a checkbook and write a check to you, therefore, you have also lost the ability to ask us to vote for anyone else. So when he comes, when he walks into your homes and smiles that cheeky smile that he has, remember what I told you. 30 pieces of silver is what he took to betray the people of St. George North. And I want you, after 26 years of being your representative, I want you to reject him, to say to him, but Glenn, look what you're going to do. We can't trust you anymore. So do what I asked you to do. On the 11th, I want you to go out in your numbers and vote for Floyd Reifer. Vote for him. Look, I knew that we were on to get with Floyd when I went to the Barbados Labour Party meeting a couple of Sunday nights ago. I'll tell you why. Not one person on the platform had anything bad to say about Floyd Reifer. Not one person. And this is a party that's known for cursing people. The only thing that I remember, I think Kerry Simmons said that he wasn't a good batsman and he wasn't a good captain. But that's all they can say about him. They cannot say anything about his commitment to the people of St. George North that is honest. They cannot say that he's not a man of integrity. They can't say that he's not from St. George North. They can't say that he's not a St. George man. He is born and bred in St. George and wants to give of his talents to the young people, in particular of St. George, to the people of St. George, to the people of St. George North in particular. And I want you to honor him by voting for him overwhelmingly in your large numbers. Ignore the rhetoric. And I'm not going to touch on Delilah Bradshaw's comment. He's 79 years old. I was told to respect my elders, and I forgive him for being such an idiot. I forgive him. It's not his fault. Because Not even a decent apology he can come up with. But here's the other act of betrayal. For 2 years, between 2016 and 2017, when the General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union was changed, we noticed a trend. And one of my friends in particular, who isn't here, pointed to the fact that he recognized that the trade union leadership seemed to have been bought out by Mayor Motley and that group. Because we saw the NUPW, we saw the Barbados Workers Union, and we saw members of C2SAB doing things that normally you would not expect trade union leaders to do. We saw them walking around with the merchants and complaining. But more importantly, is all the things that they complained about. You know, come 2018, all of them disappeared. So they cannot reach an agreement in terms of wage increases. And within 30 days, they accepted 5% and smiled like if it's an accomplishment. After asking for 18 and 23%, etc., they accepted 5%. They marched up and down Barbados complaining about the NSRL, what a wicked tax it was. And it was repealed in June 2018 and replaced by several more taxes, so that the ordinary man and woman in this country, post-June 2018, has been paying more in taxes than when the NSRL that they complain about so much was in law. But you know who benefited? The merchants. And you will think that any serious trade union leader would take a decision in the interest of the workers who they are supposed to represent. But that's not what happened. And that's not what happened under Tony Moore. And that's why I believe that you should also punish her for her betrayal. For her betrayal of you, the workers. This is not, I am not saying that a trade union leader does not have the right to a political affiliation. That has always been the case in Barbados. But before, the others were open, and you knew who they supported. For 2 years or thereabout, and I said 2 years, Tony Moore crept around in the dark, pretending that she saw everything wrong with the government, not knowing that truly that she was speaking more as a Barbados Labour Party supporter than as a trade unionist. Just this afternoon, I did a Google search on Tony Moore, just for so. And it's quite funny that the 2018 May Day speech that my friend Steve spoke about recently, that when that came up under a Barbados Labour Party blog, like if she was speaking on behalf of the Barbados Labour Party. So I want you to punish her. Her betrayal is a betrayal of the workers, not the fact that she's affiliated herself to the Barbados Labour Party. It is her right. It is how it was done. It was done in the dark of night. And I'm convinced, I've asked George Pilgrim to look into this for me. I'm convinced that the posters that we are seeing here were done in 2018. I'm convinced that the t-shirts that we are seeing here in abundance were done in 2018. I am convinced that this plan to get her to run in St. George was orchestrated since 2018, and because of Glenn Clark's stubbornness at the time, that it didn't happen. So for 2 years, this so-called independent senator, this trade union leader, was actually speaking as a Barbados Labour Party supporter, waiting for her turn to publicly come out and say, look at me. And I therefore want you to punish her for that behavior. And I'm saying to you that if she's incapable of being open and honest with you, the people of St. George North, of her political affiliations, then why do you think that she'll be honest with you going forward? If the first thing that she has done is to misrepresent her positions politically, I am saying punish her. Do not give her the chance to mislead you anymore. You cannot believe that if you give her the vote on the 11th of November, that she will be your representative. I suspect that given the chance, that she will also be neutral like everyone else in cabinet. Because you have the largest cabinet in the history of Barbados, and only one person speaks for cabinet. Not another fella dares open his mouth. All roads lead one place. That's to the Prime Minister. So to add another voice to the Barbados party makes no sense, because she will not be able to speak. The only voice allowed to be carried is the voice of the Prime Minister. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you, for that act of betrayal by her, the act of betrayal by Glenn, and I like Glenn, but I cannot forgive Glenn for what he has done. Not the going to Ottawa, but the way how it was done. For after 26 years, selling out the people of St. George North, I am saddened by it. And I mean that in every sense. And I want you to punish the Barbados Party for believing that there should be only one voice in this country, for believing that there should be no opposition in this country, for believing that only they have answers to what happened in this country. I've been listening to Floyd over the last couple of weeks, and he is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and I am confident that he's going to make a significant difference in the lives of the people in St. George North. I am confident that he will be a significant addition to parliamentary life and parliamentary debate in Barbados. Give Floyd your support. Give Floyd your overwhelming support. I will end with a little anecdote. No, I will ignore that, because I promise to be as clean as possible. But you know what? If I had any doubt that I was on the right wicket with Floyd, my second son reminded me that he met Floyd many years ago at Harrison College at a summer camp. And he said, "Daddy, he was the best counselor that we had then." And this is unsolicited. And I'm saying that we do not know the number of young people who Floyd has made a difference in their lives over the years. He does not strike me as the kind of young man that is Floyd, that walks around keeping notes and remembering who he did what for, which young man he spent time with, etc. He just wants to make a difference. And if the only thing that the Barbados Party can say about him, which they said about all of us as politicians, that he drives out with his car windows up, he don't speak to nobody, all these frivolous things that they say, you can ignore them and look through them and look to the substance. The truth is that he's a solid young man. The truth is that when I'm born again, I hope to be as good looking as he is. But more importantly, when you listen to Floyd later, you will support me in my view that he is excellent and he will do well and he will make the people of St. George North proud. Stay the course, give him your support, give us your support. Ignore the sweet talking of the other side. Floyd is the man. We are batting with Floyd. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adriel, for your strong endorsement of Floyd Reifer, a man born among the people, remained among the people, and of course will represent the people after November 11th in this by-election. We started late, so I'm going to keep the batting flowing. The next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, a former parliamentary secretary in the Ministry of Community Development and Culture, also in the Ministry of Health and in the Ministry of Tourism and International Transport. She's our former candidate in the constituency of St. Andrew, a complete woman and a Democratic Labour Party loyalist, an advocate for women's rights. I invite you to help me bring to the podium, ladies and gentlemen, the former Senator Irene Sandiford-Garner.
generation. All for to show His excellence. All I require for life, all I require for life, God has given me, and I know who I am. We are a chosen generation. We are a chosen generation.
Good night, St. George. And good night to the dear loving people of the Democratic Labour Party. You see this? You see this? This is my red laundry basket. Because tonight, we're going to rinse out Tony Moore. Back in the day, when you went to the laundry, you had a laundry list of what you left at the laundry. All the dirty linen. This is it right here. This is the laundry list for Tony Moore. Now, before I go any further, I need to sanitize this. I forgot. Because really and truly, gentlemen and ladies, we have no right in a by-election in the middle of a pandemic. It is unnecessary. And if you realize my laundry list asks, why now? Why are we having a by-election and sending Glyne to Canada, where only last week, on one day last week, you had 2,500 cases. One day, 2,500 cases of COVID. You send in a senior man, a man who has served this constituency well. I can't say any different because I'm not here to be negative. He served as best I guess he could. And this is his reward. You are sending him to cold Canada, where COVID thrives and where they've had their highest spike since COVID, whilst you make room for Tony Moore. So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you tonight, what is the real reason, what is the real need for this by-election? To win a seat you already won? Think about it. They have the seat already. Why are you going back through a process that we've been through 2 years ago to win a seat you've already won? Why are you spending all of this money? Because, mark my words, the Electoral and Boundaries Commission has to spend money. People have to be paid. So why are you spending this money at this time when Barbadians are unemployed, when people are suffering, and you are carrying Bajans through this process, an unnecessary process? Other countries are having elections, not by-elections. Why? And I came to certain conclusions because I'm thinking government ministers should really be examining crime, unemployment. They should be talking about all of the things that we know are important, the bread and butter issues, not catching Jew and spreading COVID. You know this is a Trump blueprint. This is a Trump blueprint. And they call it super spreader behavior. This is the behavior of a super spreader. Because there's no other reason why you could have Bajans over here at this time, in the middle of a pandemic, for a by-election that we do not need. But Kerry Simmons used to always say, or describe the leader of the Barbados Labour Party as she who would not, no, she who must be obeyed. She who must be obeyed. Never called her by her name. I was in the Senate with him. She who must be obeyed. If you do not obey, you know what happens. Trevor could tell you what happens. Prescott. Lucille Moore could tell you what happens. And this is something I would like my fellow journalists or my journalists to investigate. Where is Lucille Moore? Out of the blue, she was fired. You heard nothing more. And since the reconvening of the Senate, you can't hear anybody asking a question about that empty space in the Senate. Nobody is asking. And these are issues which affect our democracies, which Bajans need to be asking questions about. And the journalists need to be asking questions on behalf of Barbadians. Where is Lucille? She is MIA, missing in action. We need to know. But not only is this unnecessary, I think really and truly Barbadians, this is an exercise in vanity to prove to you all and the people of St. George that Mayor Motley can win an election she enters into, and you have to make sure that this exercise in vanity is not rewarded. But not only that, it is payback time. This is payback time. You have heard about work for work. This is do for do. This is do for do. I don't know if you remember or if you watched the interview with Glenn when he endorsed Tony Moore a couple of weeks ago. During that endorsement, Glenn Clark said, Tony Moore told me a long time ago she was going to replace me. He said he saw her at a harvest and she told him she is coming for this seat. Tony had a plan. Tony always knew that she was coming for this seat. So link the events. Think, Barbados, think. Think. She always knew. So when you saw her marching up and down this country and opposing everything that the Democratic Labour Party government offered to workers, Tony Moore was not acting in the interest of the workers of this country. Tony Moore was acting in the interest of Tony Moore. So when she lambasted the Democratic Labour Party on Labour Day 2017, I will never forget that. It was no accident. This was planned a long time ago. The workers in Barbados were sold out by Tony Moore via the Barbados Workers Union. And she would have to come and tell Barbadians that that is not true. She knew exactly what she was doing. So when she refused what the Industrial Administration offered her and accepted 5%, she knew what she was doing. It was no accident. She didn't suddenly wake up and realize that the economy was in trouble. She knew that all along, but she had no plans of accepting anything that the Democratic Labour Party government offered to her. Her vision was long-term, and the workers were deceived. She deceived them. She made the workers believe she was working in their interest. And as Floyd Reifer has said already, she bait and she switch, switch and bait and switch. She baited you, and then she switched. That takes a high level of collaboration, collusion, and cunning. And there is absolutely no reason why the people of St. George North should reward her with a seat in the House of Assembly. Can't do it. And this fallacy, this list real long, but I can finish soon. Real long, yes, shopping list, laundry list. When they talk about this fallacy about having Labour leaders in the House of Assembly and she wants to enhance Labour's representation, the most progressive Labour legislation in the House of Assembly of Barbados came under Esther Bayasuku, under the Democratic Labour Party, and she was no union leader. You can pass legislation. You can set policy once there is governmental will to do it. You don't need a labor leader in the lower chamber to do that. So that is garbage. It is utter nonsense. Don't let them come to you with that. This is about Tony being repaid. Plain and simple. The legislation is there. Pro-worker at every turn. The legislation is there. And then you hear we had labor leaders in the House of Assembly too. But ladies and gentlemen, Tony Moore was not at that level. She was never at that level. And when they went into the House, we knew who they were. That's the difference. Tony walked up and down and denied politics like Peter denied Christ. She was never a politician, according to her. That was the difference. I knew who Frank Walcott was. I knew who Leroy Trotman was. I knew who Bobby Morris was. Evelyn Graves. We knew who they were. Tony Moore never told you who she was. But if you were perceptive, you would have realized who she was acting on behalf of. So let them not feed you with that garbage, because it is garbage. They were transparent. The ones before her were transparent. And Saroy marched up and down against the very party which made him a member of parliament. He walked on conscience. Tony Moore, you have to tell Barbados, did you ever walk on conscience? Did you ever walk on integrity? Did you ever walk in the interest of the workers? Tell us. Tell us. So that is the difference, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion. But you know what I find most distasteful in this whole scenario? Is that while workers were looking for a voice and looking for a representation, particularly during this period, Tony Moore was canvassing for Tony. Not only that, but in September, I received a call from someone in St. George North who told me Tony was by them canvassing and she was using the vehicle paid for by the workers of this country. That is reprehensible, Barbados. Reprehensible. So when you talk about transparency, integrity, and conscience, think on those things. How dare you? The workers paid for that vehicle, and you are canvassing on behalf of a political party in the workers' vehicle. She doesn't have it now. I know who vehicle she got. No, I ain't calling the names. I wouldn't do that. Floyd is having a clean campaign, and we're going to keep it that way. We will not talk about people. We will talk about issues. The issues, and the people who are in the election. So those are the things that I am angry about, and Barbados should be angry about, and St. George should be angry about. When the roof was falling in on CBC, Tony Moore made a comment in the media that by the end of September, the matter would be addressed. Ask her how many meetings as a representative that she was invited to CBC did she attend. Ask her. When she comes to your house canvassing, ask her on behalf of your brothers and sisters at CBC, 50% of whom are at home as we speak. When they were looking for a voice, she was canvassing. They said last in, first out. And you have people who are members or supporters of the Democratic Labour Party who worked at CBC for more than a decade, who were the first to be sent home. One of them is a single woman with 4 children, one of whom is ill. Just because there was the perception that she supported the Democratic Labour Party. And yet this government told Barbadians that at least one person in the house should be working. They sent her home, and to this day, she cannot get the money due to her. And Tony Moore has not said a word, but will want to go up to CBC for a debate and face the staff already left, or the staff that is left, who are working under the most abhorrent conditions. And you talk about transparency, integrity, and conscience. Oh, Remember, Labor Day 2017, they go back to that. Remember how Tony told Barbados, and they're going to quote, because they have it here. Government should not expect some of the lowest paid workers to sacrifice more, while at the same time, and I quote, they are grabbing and breaking for themselves. Government, this is her words, should not expect some of the lowest paid workers to sacrifice more, while at the same time, and I quote, they are grabbing and breaking for themselves. Tony, who grabbing and breaking for themselves? No. Who grabbing and breaking for the $17,000 a month? Because when you combine the two salaries, it is $17,000. 10 approximately one way, 7 another. Well, you sat back and said not a word when people went home. Actually, you said 1,000 ain't bad. Forgot that part. You said 1,000 is not too bad. People are suffering, and that is not a fallacy. It is a fact. But you are busy up and down through St. George North, breaking and grabbing for your 17,000. Barbados, you think that is fair? Do you think that is right? Do you think that she should be rewarded with a seat for doing that? St. George North, do you think it is fair? Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Hotel workers, there's a lady I met from St. George North who leaves home 3 times a week at 8 hours a day. 3 times 8 is what? That adds up to 1 day a week. A single woman too. She can't get severance, because you know they've delayed the receipt of the severance. This government has made it difficult for hotel workers to live. But she knows what she will do when she goes to the polls. Because these are the people, Tony, who you should have been representing. And I spoke about CBC already. You talk of going to Parliament, and I say again, you have the right playing field where you are. Stay where you are. You want to represent workers? Stay in Harmony Hall. You are not needed in the House of Assembly. So don't fool people about that. You stay right where you are. Although I understand that every time there is a problem, Leroy Trotman has to shuffle in there to solve it. And he's being paid by your membership dues to do so. Well, you are still paying Tony. So what is Tony being successful at? Since she was the General Secretary, they got the list here on my laundry list. G4S workers left. Caribbean aircraft handling workers have left. Port workers left. Purity workers have left. Arawak Cement Company workers have left. And last year, workers from the port went on strike under Tony against the union. The port, the Barbados port. So this move is nothing more than payback time, do for do. Nothing to do with the workers. St. George North, you love Glenn, and you're going to lose a good man because you know what he did for you. And I am not going to stand here and say anything bad about Glenn Clark. I spent 10 days in Africa with Glenn Clark. And all the talk about Glenn Clark, he was a gentleman to me. He was a gentleman. He was like a father figure. We had rooms next door to one another. I looked out for him. He looked out for me. And we had a wonderful time, and I got to know the man. He ain't a demon, he's a good man. But you cannot replace Glenn with this self-seeking, self-serving individual, because she will not be there for you. She has already told you that she will not be here. She said at a meeting in St. George North already that she has surrogates who will represent you, because she will be representing in Geneva. She won't be here for you. She will be no Glenn. But I will tell you who will be here for you. Who will be here for you? Correct. The man from among you who has stepped forward for you. He is not an opportunist. He is not a carpetbagger. They hate me to say those words. Carpetbagger. When you go home, Google carpetbagger. This is yet another one the Barbados Labour Party is bringing to a stronghold. Let them know that you don't want that. You want a hometown boy with hometown values, with hometown interests, and with a passion to work for you. That is who you want. And he is a Reifer. He has a good name. He has standing. He doesn't come here wanting more. He is coming to you to give. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a good man. Treat him well. Let him know that you will be behind him, because he will be for you. St. George North, what will you do? St. George North, what will you do? Because Floyd belongs to you, and Floyd will work for you. And I'm not speaking idly. I've walked with him, and I know his heart is in the right place. He ain't chasing clout nor fame. He is looking to give back. So ladies and gentlemen, my light is on. I told you it wouldn't be long, even though the laundry list was long. I think I covered as much as I could. All I want you to do is think on what I have told you and understand. You cannot exchange genuine for a $3 bill. I gone.
Oh yes, well done, Irene, well done. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is being streamed, as the Barbados Labour Party's meeting is also being streamed. We just checked on the viewership. And I'll tell you something, the Barbados Labour Party's viewership is 295 people viewed it, and the Democratic Labour Party's viewership is 604. The last time we had a meeting, we had 14,000 people viewing our meeting, and the Barbados Labour Party only had 10,000. So the people are actually following the Democratic Labour Party in person and when it's being streamed live. So the momentum is with this party. Don't forget it. Let's keep, even the bees watching me, I understand. Even the bees watching. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep the ball rolling. This next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a former minister in the Barbados Labour Party administration. He resigned from the Barbados Labour Party when the stench of corruption became too much for his nostrils to stomach. He has a story to tell us tonight, and I'm going to bring him to tell that story. So ladies and gentlemen, help me bring to the podium Mr. Anthony Wood.
We are a chosen generation. All for to show all I require for life. All I require for life. God has given me.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. I know that all of you are excited. All those who Steve just spoke about who are at home. I know that they are indeed very eager and they have their ears pricked to hear what I have to say. And this is the first time that I have stood on a political platform other than the Barbados Labour Party since the days back in 1994. So I want you not to allow this first lecture, debate, address, whatever you want to call it, on the Democratic Labour Party platform. I don't want my words and the information to go to waste. I want you to listen extremely carefully to what I have to say. Because being here did not come lightly, okay? Difficult as it was, not as it is. I have such a strong and powerful message, not just for the constituents of St. George North, but every right-thinking person who lives in this country and who cherish Barbados and who want to see Barbados restored to a path of good governance. I'm not going to come here tonight and bore you with any highfalutin finance and economics language, all right? My message is very simple. I've greeted you already. I can tell you shortly in a little more detail why I am here. People have been asking me if I've joined the Democratic Labour Party. Ever since I was seen at a meeting last Sunday out by Sam's shop. And it created a lot of stir by the journalists and the photographers. And the next day, a lady from Barbados today called me, and in truly dramatic style, she said that somebody called her newspaper to say that I was seen paying money to join the DLP. And she called in to confirm whether that is true. And I gave some remarks, some comments, and they were published in Barbados today too, the very next day. And some of you would have seen them. So the quick answer to that question is that I am not a member of the Democratic Labour Party. But I have concerns, like all the persons gathered here and those elsewhere, including the Barbados Labour Party, unapologetic and unrepentant supporters. I have concerns about the governance of this country. And I can tell you shortly why I had to come out in public with those concerns. Because between April the 30th and May the 24th, I wrote a series of emails to Prime Minister Motley, who I thought was a dear friend of mine. And I wrote a series of emails in the month of May. Because for some time since 2018, I had concerns about the governance of the country by the Motley administration. An administration that I went out night after night. And some of you may not know, but I was the deputy campaign manager of the Barbados Labour Party's campaign in the last election. So when you saw me crisscrossing the country, helping to prepare candidates to win their seats, it is because I had given a commitment. And I must tell you that that was a commitment of high order, because I did not like the direction in which the country was going then also. And true to my conscience, I did what I had to do then. I do not like the direction in which the governance of this country is being taken by Motley. So I am an independent member of Barbadian society. I still have a fairly good brain. I track political and economic and financial matters very closely. But I come here tonight to speak about the issues of governance. Because if you don't keep an eye on those things, we will forever be sorry in 5 or 10 years' time for not calling out the Barbados Labour Party and putting serious pressure on this Martley administration as a result of breaches in governance practices as the leader of this country. So I wrote Mayor a series of emails. One relating to my resignation as the chairman of the board of the ADMC, and provided very explicit reasons why I could not remain as the chairman of the ADMC. I had to. I also wrote her an email informing her of my intention to disavow and disassociate myself from Indoor. She knew before all of you knew that I had intended to disassociate myself from Weir, advancing positions of principle. I also wrote Mayor an email on the 24th of May, informing her of my intention to resign from the Barbados Labour Party. I also wrote her an email in May, drawing to her attention that I had concerns about the governance of the country. And if a senior member of the Barbados Labour Party, one who most Barbadians think ought to be listened to when he speaks, as a member of the Barbados Labour Party, and I was trying to get this matter sorted out privately, and the Prime Minister of this country, Miss Motley, she promised me 3 meetings, promised to meet with me on 3 occasions in the month of May to discuss some of the issues that were committed to those emails I sent to her. You understand what I tell you? Promised on 3 occasions to have meetings with me before the end of May to discuss these issues. And lo and behold, no meetings were set up. None. No excuses were given as to why Mayor could not meet with me. But I tell you that the more things change, the more they remain the same. And during the election campaign, when I was the deputy campaign manager, I had lost count of the amount of meetings that Motley convened to see me to discuss the preparation of candidates' business and other strategic issues. But it is as though I was skillfully used and dumb. But I don't mind, because my efforts in the campaign were not in vain, right? And there weren't all the seats, and I can thank myself for participating in that. But I can also thank myself for speaking in most truthful tones and bringing information not only to the people in St. George North, but the people without, away from St. George North, because they need to be prepared to get their house in order as we move to the next general election. So I have to be concerned. And that's why I'm here, because at the end of this vote on the 11th of November, I am challenging St. George North to do what Barbados in its wider context is expecting of you. You need to ensure that Floyd Reifer becomes the duly elected representative for this constituency. Because some of the things that I'm going to tell you now, and I'm going to speed up, would leave you in no doubt that you do not have a choice but to elect Floyd Reifer. Let me get to the aspects of governance that I'm concerned about. So you can see me here as a public advocate. As I said, I can participate in any public forum. I am an independent member of Barbadian society. You all can call me to come and give an address at any location once it's dealing with economic, finance, or governance. What are some of these? You know, when Alpha said that, and I agree with him. Because this boy who is standing here, I am not ashamed to tell you that my beginnings were quite different to Motley's, right? I'm from very humble circumstances. My former neighbor is right there. I'm not ashamed to tell you that at primary school, we were so poor that I never wear school shoes. I walked from 4 rows to 6 rows, and I did the common entrance examination bare feet. I'm not ashamed of that. I got a lot of shoes now, though. So my socialization in my early days, which were the most formative days, my socialization was very different to Motley. She grew up on Sandy Lane Estate. She grew up privileged, access to gold spoons left, right, and center. But this boy will not be anybody in the yard from Motley or anybody. Because this boy has come too far. Use the educational system extremely well. I've made a significant contribution to the shaping and development of public policy in this country under ONAF, and I thank him for that. But this fellow will not be a boy in the yard for anybody at all. My mind is too independent. I am too fierce, I am too brave, and I am too open. So once he feels, as some of them on the other side tell me, Motley is everything. Motley is everything. Motley is everything. She's everything for them, but she ain't everything for me here. I am concerned. Let me read these 2 letters. One, the disclaimer notice. I got to put things in context. This disclaimer notice I put in the papers, but where is as follows. I write to inform you that, and I'm writing to the residents of St. Philip South, that with immediate effect, I disassociate myself from Mr. Indar, Parliamentary Secretary, Parliamentary Representative of the constituency of St. Philip South. The reasons for this decision will be communicated to you in the coming months, and I've started it. I'm certain that once you receive the information, an overwhelming majority of you will join me in withdrawing your support for Mr. Weir. Also, I apologize to you profusely for my grave error in judgment in endorsing and supporting the candidacy of Mr. Weir during the last general election. So you know that humility is written all over me, because I apologize to a whole constituency that I used to represent for an error in judgment and asking them to support Weir. The next letter I want to read to you is my resignation letter that I sent to the Barbados Labour Party. And I wrote Senator K. McConney, the chairman. I write to inform you of my resignation from the BLP. This action is due to the following reasons. I want one to listen carefully. First, my concern with certain aspects of governance of the country by the ruling Barbados Labour Party. Second, it is glaring that the administration has failed to honor fundamental promises made to the electorate and contained in the 2018 election manifesto, particularly relating to the stamping out of corruption. Such inaction on this core issue, which was central to the party's campaign in the general election, is a source of great disappointment and embarrassment for many Barbadians and myself. Finally, my principles and good conscience make it impossible for me to maintain membership of the same political institution as Mr. Indar, an individual I have disassociated myself from and withdrawn my support for by a public notice on May the 24th, 2020. So that was the start of my public education drive about my concerns with the Barbados Labour Party and governance. Now, I must tell you that I have some serious concerns. And these concerns were magnified beyond the time when I sent this letter of resignation to the Barbados Labour Party's chairman. The next concern was the public humiliation of some of my former colleagues, namely George Payne and Trevor Prescott, two decent fellas. She also publicly humiliated Lucille Moore, Edmund. We went to our college together, and Nero. And the Nero's case is extremely disturbing for me. Because this is a man of very humble circumstances. And when you take down that man in such an unceremonious fashion, you reduce that man from working for a decent pay to look after his family, send him to get a normal MP stipend, a man with no particular gift, a man who obviously has been sent now in a pauperized state. And if she can't care about Nero, a man who win a seat, a man who I had numerous meetings with to ensure that he became successful in the last election, if she ain't care about Nero, she sent him to acquire a pauperized state. Issues of dealing with his daily expenses. How the France you expect Prime Minister Motley to care about you or me or anybody else when Nero is one of them? If she can publicly humiliate George Payne and Trevor Prescott, two of my very good friends, like Glenn Clark, you can't be surprised at what she said about Caswell Franklin when she descended into the gutter to talk about $400 from a hardship fund, not even from her pocket, to support Caswell in his time of need. I'm also concerned with the unnecessary proroguing of Parliament and the delivery of a throne speech ahead of the recommencement of Parliament. That whole exercise was unnecessary. It was a distraction. And the throne speech was nothing more than a midterm BLP manifesto. I'm also concerned that as Motley, in her head, mysterious or otherwise, thinks that she is tightening the vice grip over Barbadians' minds and our actions. I am concerned that there is a manifestation of despotic leadership that if we allowed to go unchecked, we are going to be extremely sorry. And so that you will not be allowed to allow this despotic leadership to take any further root. And I'm using one half his term. So that you will not be allowed to allow that to go unchecked. I am going to come from this platform and give another public address before this campaign is over on despotic leadership, the Barbadian example. But Ms. Motley aimed to force a savings plan on civil servants. You remember? The prelude to the BOSS program. But when she said it is a forced savings plan, I said to myself, why did the right thing to leave the Barbados Labour Party? Because I cannot understand a woman could be so forward and could be so brutal to think that she can determine better than the civil servants who work for the money how they should save their money. Now, if that is not intrusion into the minds of people, I do not know what it is. And when I got to look out for these things. When she got the pushback, you know what happened? When the pushback came, it moved from a forced savings plan to an optional savings plan. And that is how you deal with people's business. If you want people to cooperate with you and yield some of their current income, you negotiate it with them. But you can't come and ram down people's throat as she thinks she has a God-given right to do to Barbadians. Trying to give expression to a master leadership style as opposed to a servant leadership style, and giving manifestations regularly to the practice of despotic leadership. And we need to rise up and send a message to Motley and the BLP that St. George North, by voting for Floyd Reifer, is sending the signal and putting Barbados on a trajectory that we will not stand for any breaches of good governance practices in Barbados. I'm also concerned about the sudden resignation of Glenn Clark. When the people of St. George North and Barbados are facing their most challenging economic circumstances. Glenn Clark is a very good friend of mine, and I'm going to give you the story behind Glenn leaving so I can speed up. I'm also concerned about certain statements that have been emanating from the BLP's platform in this by-election. The most ridiculous one, but I would not touch that because I know all of you. All of you would use a statement that any idiot could play cricket. You will use it to the advantage of the candidate who is running against the Barbados Labour Party's candidate. Because as Adriel said, no apology from Brady, Dwight, or Motley. None is good enough. The statement has been said, you're not taking back the spoken word, because that is part of the elitist thinking of the Barbados Labour Party. And I am reminded that another statement that emanated from this platform was right there done by Sam Shaw, a place I know well, that you can't have big works without talking to me. You got to talk to me if you want big works. And I am a man who stop and analyze things deeply, right? I suppose to be a university lecturer of so many years standing, you got to be analyzing things properly. I would have done a lot of exams in my life here and at Cambridge University, where I met Michael Atherton. And Michael Atherton was the cricket captain of the Cambridge University team when I was there. So by the stretch of nobody's imagination, Michael Atherton, who went on shortly thereafter to captain England's cricket team, he can be considered an idiot. But none of us dare play cricket with me at the university, and no Barbadian woman or child who is encouraged to participate in our national sport, that is who Delay Bradshaw called idiots. And I'm not even looking back at cigar-free sobers and Sir Frank Worrell and them coming through the line, because we know what cricket development and success in the sport, going back to the days of Sir Frank and coming forward, what that has done to the mentality and the psyche of Caribbean people. And if you read C.L.R. James' account of the importance, beyond the boundary, of the importance of success in cricket, that was first given to the region by Sir Frank Worrell and them, you will understand the idiocy and the atrocious nature of that statement. And that is the type of statement that should bring down governments here. That is the type of statement that should not only propel Floyd Reifer to win this election, but they were trying to disparage and disrespect a very, very successful young man, a man with good management and organizational skills, a man of strong integrity, a man of strong commitment and purpose to the people of St. George North, and that is who they're trying to disparage. So when Motley tell you, you can't have big words without talking to me, I read into that. That is an elitist comment coming from me, Motley, whose socialization was different to mine. That Floyd Reifer is incapable of conceptualizing anything that can be considered part of a big works program. So he got to talk to Motley to get some help to shape in the programs and the policies that would result in big works plans being produced. That is an elitist statement, and you must not let them go unchecked. Another problem I have with statements coming from the BLP platform, and this is one I'm going to spend some time on, that St. George North does not need someone from or of the constituency. It was said, St. George North no longer needs someone of or from the constituency, but rather St. George North needs someone for the constituency. You understand the profound ignorance that is underpinning such a ridiculous statement? And I want one to listen to me. Normally I would talk fast and say a lot more, but I want what I'm saying to be internalized by you. And when you leave here, I want you to go and tell people what he said, okay? Because if you jog your memory, Sir Walker represented this constituency from 1986 and 1994. a decent man from St. George North. Glenn Clark, a good friend of mine, very good friend of mine. Representing this constituency from 1994 to a couple of days ago when he was encouraged to let himself be unceremoniously dismissed from the constituency. And it was well and fine for Cyril and Glenn, who were from and of the constituency to represent the people in St. George North. You understand? From 1986 to August 2020, it was all well and fine. But now it's Floyd Reifer's turn. Something is so wrong that St. George North should not aspire now to continue on that trajectory where someone from and of the constituency should be their duly elected representative, but someone for the constituency. And I'm telling you again, that is another elitist statement coming from the Barbados Labour Party. And you need to punish it. Because they're telling you that Floyd Reifer is incapable of providing proper representation for you, the people in St. George North, a man who lived just down the hill there, a man who spent all his life once he was in Barbados not on cricket duty, because of course you know he's not an idiot, because he represented Barbados and the West Indies at the highest level. So when he's not overseas, the man down right there, you know, and down the hill there from Tark's Cottage. But all of a sudden, he doesn't know what you all need. He cannot collect information. He cannot put a proper, well-articulated case to the powers that be on your behalf. But Glenn Clark could have done it. My friend. Cyril could have done it. Good man. But all of a sudden, things should change. But I want to tell you something. That things aren't going to change. Because you have a duty. Not only you here, but you need to tell the others that things ought not to change. Because if it was good for Glenn Clark, if it is good for Cyril Walker, it got to be good for Floyd Reifer too. And they said something else. And I'm glad Derek has drawn nigh. And I'm glad that Irene Sandiford-Garner spent a little time on the hypocrisy. Because the theme of my speech is indeed the politics of hypocrisy, right? But another thing that came was that from the other platform, Tony Moore is required now more than before. Then they say vote for more rather than less. Now, you understand the implication of that statement? Vote for more rather than less. You understand how in a very disparaging and disrespectful way those people on the other side are trying to put down Mr. Reifer, a decent young man. Well, I want you all, you see this elitist and disparaging and disrespectful comments coming from the other side, I want you all to deal a telling blow with such comments and let them know that there is still, you still expect a high degree of respect in social relationships in Barbados. You still demand a high degree of respect in how people interact with each other in Barbados. But if they're on the other side, led by Motley, they think that that is not important. As one of them telling me, Motley is everything, all roads lead to she. The same person tell me what? That ever so welcome wait for a call. So they're like sheep, really. They're being dominated. And you all would be surprised, or you wouldn't be surprised. Not a lot of what I am supposed to be talking about on this platform for Floyd. You know that members of the BLP who are scared to confront she, they're telling me to talk about? You would never believe that. You would never believe that, but that is a fact. But since the election, there were some instances of the politics of hypocrisy. And those instances redound to the disadvantage of Barbadians. You remember, I don't want to get too technical in this, but Clyde and myself and others during the last campaign, we were talking about reprofiling Barbados' debt so as to ease the burden of immediate debt repayments on Barbadians. Right? And we explained it in such a way as to make it clear that reprofiling the debt, all that meant was, we can't pay you over the next 6 months or the next year, but we will negotiate with you, and we will pay you a little further down the road, because the government needs some fiscal space in order to get money to buy trucks and to repair the roads and buy buses and blah, blah, blah. But not a single investor in government paper, be it an institutional investor or private investor, not a single person was to be denied from the government at the appropriate time anything below what the government had owed them via their investment in government paper up until the time when the debt reprofiling program was started. All it meant is that you pay you a little later down the road, so we will renegotiate the type of bonds that were issued, and you will get some other bonds that mature at a later date. But you will get every single cent that was owed to you on an equivalent basis, as we say. And we in finance got a way of dealing with that, because we just apply a simple future value formula. So if you get the money 5 years down the road, application of the future value formula will take care of the time value of money, so that $1 today will be of equivalent value 5 or 10 years from now. And you know, a clown like me, believing that that was what debt reprofiling meant, and I went and sold that to all sorts of Barbadians on platform after platform. And you know what happened? These people changed their tune. And they shave off the value in the most unilateral way of the portfolio that persons had held via their investments in government paper. So millions of dollars get shaved off the investments that the financial institutions had in government paper. A lot of private sector holders, private holders of bonds, they had to take what we call a haircut. And a big haircut, as Derek said, and a lot of people going to their grave getting no redress whatsoever because the government did it in a unilateral fashion. When we know that any debt relief that is sought, it has to be negotiated by the person who is the creditor and the person who is the debtor. And nowhere in the world have I ever heard that a government conferred on itself in dealing with domestic debt the right to repudiate a portion of the debt and telling people, take it. As a matter of fact, they went in the assembly. And I remember a couple of them made laughing sport at the banks because they had to lose hundreds of millions of dollars in the paper that they had. Another, I'm going to take 5 more minutes. Another issue. You remember Motley and her gang, including me at the time, lambasted Frederick Stewart for putting Dennis Kelmer in the cabinet to increase the cabinet from about 16 to 17, or 17 to 18. And you know, on assuming office, one of the first hypocritical things that these people did, by God be Motley, is to constitute a cabinet of 27 people. Before I came here, I went back to a photograph with my cabinet colleagues from 2003 to 2008, when Warren was in charge. And I counted 16 people in that photograph, who were 15 and myself. And one Arthur had the most successful cabinet in the history of parliamentary democracy in Barbados. And he was able to manage this economy in a very skillful way. I mean, he got a lot of help from people like me and Clyde. But he needed just 16 people. And this Motley come in ahead of effecting a retrenchment program so as to fit into the dictates and the positions in the program. She looked after her cabinet members first by constituting one of 27, including she. The largest cabinet in history. It was unnecessary and it was a colossal waste of the taxpayers' money. at a time when money could have been ill afforded to be spent like that. But then, 1,500 civil servants got to go along home, another 3,000 or so for the private sector. And if that is not hypocrisy, I do not know what is hypocrisy. The final thing I want to tell you, I will come back when I give the next talk on the lack of commitment to stabbing out corruption and give you some particular information. But in the case of Glenn Clark, Glenn Clark resigned abruptly. He surprised me. And Glenn Clark is my friend and we talk often, right? But he resigned after telling Barbadians on the 16th of August 2020 that Clark intends to contest the next general election under the BLP banner. What has changed since August the 16th? Clark repeatedly said, as recent as August the 20th at St. George Secondary School, that he entered politics to represent the interests of St. George North constituents and not to be a minister. The people in St. George North took Glenn Clark at his word, and they reposed confidence in him in an unprecedented way in May of 2018. Would you believe that, having said he entered politics to represent you all, that Glenn Clark is leaving the constituents of St. George North at midterm after they voted for him again in May 2018? What is the real reason? Clark said he is a team player. Certainly not a team player with the people of St. George North anymore. He's a team player with Motley. Because if he were a team player, he would chase Motley as he did leading up to the last election when Glenn Clark was not supposed to run. But Glenn Clark was steadfast, and Glenn Clark chased them, and he said to them that nobody besides the people in St. George North can stop me from running in this election of May 2018. What has caused Glenn Clark to capitulate in August of 2018? Now, Clark said on the occasion of him giving way, he said that this offer was not put to him for the first time. It was put to him before. And he dismissed it out of hand in favor of the people in St. George North. But in the middle of a pandemic, when no election at all unless it's direction that had a term that had run its full course, then the need for any general election, Glenn Clark was indeed lured to be unceremoniously dismissed. And I know that in Glenn Clark's heart of hearts, that Glenn Clark knows that he has done the wrong thing by deserting the people in St. George North. So I'm telling you that if Glenn Clark has deserted the people in St. George North, and will you also remember that in a cabinet of 27 people, Glenn Clark was not made a member of that cabinet, the second longest serving member in the Assembly for the Barbados Labour Party, a man of tremendous experience, a man who was a minister with more than one portfolio under Reifer. You can imagine that she couldn't find a space for Glenn Clark. So the people in St. George North got spited after the election because Glenn Clark North said he is not giving way. The people in St. George North, only them could stop me from running. So you all were made to suffer in the period immediately after the election, after they claimed the DLP didn't treat St. George North well because of Glenn. But they continued it when they had a very good chance of bringing proper representation to St. George North. But Glenn Clark was sidelined and orchestrated, so you all had to suffer. But no, they want more now more than ever. So I read into that statement as well to mean that they are passing judgment on Glenn Clark as a very poor representative, especially in the last 28 months. Because if they want she more now than ever, it means that Glenn Clark was not delivering for the people of St. George North. But Irene Sandiford said something, and I'm going to close now, because the light keep flashing, that the state of this economy and society, Labour is going to go through periods of agitation. And Labour will need committed, non-conceited leaders to represent them against this government. So I ask the question, Tony Moore is needed now more than ever before. It can be, well, they've already passed judgment on Glenn Clark. So you all have to get the other people in St. George North for pay back the Barbados Labour Party for telling you via that statement that Glenn Clark had reached the end of his usefulness. Glenn Clark has been good to you all, and you all have been good to Glenn Clark. Punish the Barbados Labour Party for an intruder coming in St. George North with a slogan that Tony Moore is needed now more than ever before. You understand what that statement is implying about Glenn Clark? Do not stand for it. I am not going to stand for it because Glenn Clark is my very good friend. And I will come here and implore you night and night that you need to crush that statement and punish it with votes for Floyd Reifer. But I am telling you, similar to what Irene Sandiford-Garner said, this plan to get Tony Moore in place, the plan they started to plot that years ago. And trying with such indecent haste to get Tony Moore as an elected member of the Barbados Labour Party, while she is indeed still the General Secretary of the Barbados Labour Party. That is indeed an opportunity for Motley to tighten the noose, the vice grip around Labour, so that Labour will indeed not get its just reward during a period of hardship in Barbados going forward. We know how lukewarm she has been in the Barbados Workers' Union, has been towards the government prior and since the election. And if when I ever make this mistake, when I can't say that we ain't one with her, Labour is going to suffer because you cannot serve two masters at the same time. She is totally unfit to be your representative ahead of Glenn Clark. And if when I make that mistake, Labour is in for a particularly rough ride in the period leading up to the next election and thereafter if when they don't vote out the Barbados Labour Party. Ladies and gentlemen, I gotta go. Stay tuned. I coming back to give one a lecture on despotic leadership, so stay tuned. I thank you, and I want one to go in the largest possible numbers to ensure that some of the wrongs are righted and that Floyd Reifer is indeed elected. Stay away from the garbage, the disparaging and disrespectful talk. That is to be punished in the polling booth on November 11th. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
St. George North is a party, we give Floyd the vote. Let me give Floyd the vote. Representing for the young man, give Floyd the vote. Let me give Floyd the vote. St. George North is a party, we give Floyd the vote. Let me give Floyd together, we can build this community.
Oh yes, thank you very much, Mr. Anthony Wood. Bring, of course, letting us know about the inept, the uncaring, the hypocritical, and the selfish Barbados Labour Party. Let them stay where they are. MA 1386, MA 1386, you're blocking someone. Please remove your car so the person can leave. Let's move smoothly along. This time we're going to bring to you a branch of the large Reifer tree here in this constituency and throughout the parish of St. George. The uncle of the candidate, he's going to bring you a message, and then he will formally introduce Floyd after he has delivered his speech. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Herbert Reifer.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Rather than their deal, he would have made better sense if he had said to the Barbados Labour Party, look, the roads in St. George, terrible. The road leading from Bridgecourt to Market Hill in a poor state. he could have said that. That would have made sense. He could have said the road, even this road above here right now, and you drive down there, is in a horrible state. He could have said that. That would have made more sense than coming in here and talking that dribble. If he'd gone and said, well, the St. Jude's Primary School need somewhere to walk properly. Those children, they have to walk in the road going to school and leaving school with the ZRs and the minibuses driving at that kind of breakneck speed. If he had said those things, if he said you want some crossings in Newbury for the people and their children to cross the road, if he said they want a bus shed up there in St. Jude's, these things we want to hear. Not come in here and tell people about one any idiot can play cricket. These are not the things that we want to hear. We want to hear what you are doing and what you're going to do for the constituents of St. George North. That is what we want to hear. So if you don't have anything to say to us, sensible, stay out. When you hit Salters there, turn around and go back. Don't come. And then he has the audacity to finish it off by talking about he will rip out somebody's throat. But tell him come. Tell him come, man, we ready. We ready. But leave him. Leave them. We will deal with him and we will deal with them on November 11th, 2020. We can show them who's idiots about here. You come over here talking nonsense and bringing all sorts of stupid excuses as to why he said this and why he said that. None of that is nonsense, man. Ladies and gentlemen, that was not supposed to be the dominating topic tonight. We're supposed here to talk about Floyd, and what he is about to do, what he's going to do for this parish and for the St. George North especially. Going around with Floyd, canvassing with Floyd, Floyd entertains and he engages us. They say that Floyd likes to read off prepared speeches. Nonsense again. The President of the United States reads off of teleprompters. There and there. So you see, looking that way and that way, he's reading off teleprompters. I ain't getting into that. Right. So that is a non-issue. Rather than look at that, listen to the man's message. Listen to the substance that the man is bringing. Listen to the message, not the messenger. So when you get there, you come with your preconceived ideas about Floyd Reifer. Oh, he can't do this and he can't do that. That isn't right. But listen to the message that the man brings. We bring practical solutions. As I said before, we don't promise you the world. We bring practical solutions. And as I said also, Floyd has a great characteristic about him that I admire in that he listens. Floyd will stand up and listen to you for half an hour. He's not one that will say, look, I go on, or I hear you, I go on, and so on. He will listen and engage you. That is the type of representation that we want. When people talking about big works and big words and so on and such like, you are holding up the good people of St. George North to ransom when you tell them that nonsense about you can't get this unless it come through me. In other words, you are telling us, the people of St. George North, if you vote for Floyd Reifer, don't look for anything. You are holding us up to ransom. Well, hold us up to ransom, because we can show you November 11th, man. We can show you November 11th. Yeah. Next issue they say is that Floyd is a very quiet person. He does not like to talk. You would like Floyd to run off his mouth and run his mouth and blabble and blabble and blabble, and then nothing at all makes sense to you. Floyd speaks when he's ready, he speaks with sense, he speaks with commitment, sincerity, and honesty. That is what Floyd does. I have heard him saying to people, I cannot promise you this. Don't look for me to tell you this and promise all these things. What I can do for you is I'm going to provide some opportunities for you to improve yourself. That is what you want. Provide some opportunities to you to improve yourself rather than going there and begging a politician for a job and a little something, and then the politician get on the platform and talk about it. How I gave him a job and how he voted for me. Every time the opposition has to open his mouth and talk about Floyd, he says, I gave him a job. And he encouraged his family to vote for me. Not this one, because they never vote for him. So I don't know if he's talking about me. Floyd encouraged people to vote for him, not me. And they've never seen Floyd coming around the house telling people to vote for Glenn Clark, because Floyd knew that he would get tell off seriously. So I don't know where he got that from. But that is what he's saying about Floyd. Those are the things that they're saying about Floyd. They're not attacking his character. They're not attacking anything about, oh, he's a nice fella, but he can't talk, he can't read, I gave him a job. This kind of trivial nonsense. Yes, I went on. That is the thing about Floyd. He kept the job, improved himself, went on to reach the pinnacle, the highest point in cricket in the West Indies. Captain the West Indies team and was also assistant coach in the West Indies team. That is what you call action. Yes, we do. We are doers, not talkers. We are doers. Doers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're all waiting to see and hear Floyd. Yes, I know that. He's behind here. He's pacing up and down. He can't wait to get here, ladies and gentlemen. We can't wait to get here. So what we're going to do, I want everybody here to raise your hands. Who are you going to vote for? Who are you going to vote for? Man, you sound so good. Who are you going to vote for? That is better, man. That is better. Vote for Floyd. Ladies and gentlemen, the future representative for St. George North, Floyd Lamont Reifer. Get in here, Floyd. Get in here, Floyd. Share some licks. Beer Sixes gonna get here tonight. Beer Sixes, we play T20 quick in here. Get in here, Floyd. Yeah, man, get in here. Licks gonna share now, man. This is gonna be the fastest T20 100 you ever see. Big some board, Floyd.
St. George North. Good night. I get it. This is my man, Frankie Paul. I get it. Friends, family, and neighbors, good night to all. Tonight, this conversation will continue because I have a lot to say. We in this constituency have endured a lot. And I say we because I from about here. For the past few weeks, I have walked this constituency, and it is clear to me that it is time to end the disrespect and the neglect. It is time to say no more. It is time to back with Reifer. My name is straight buried in parish land. And my passion for the community that raised me runs deep. We are a community. We love our own. We support our own. We defend our own. We represent our own. Understand that when there's a problem in St. George North, I don't have to pick up the paper and read about it the next day. I don't have to call the branch president and find out if something's going on the next day. I live about here. I didn't know what is going on in St. George North. Can you say the same for the opposing lady? No. No. So that is why you must back with Reifer. As I move around the constituency speaking with many of you, hearing your concerns, I have noticed a very disturbing trend. Glenn, for the last 26 years, has had a habit of starting things that he promised, but never finished. Look at the pavilion down at the Glebe. DLP will not finish it. That's what they are saying, that the Democratic Labour Party will not finish it. But the people of St. George North, it was started and stopped long before the general election in 2008. You know why the Barbados Labour Party government can afford to abandon this project? Because they do not care nothing about Glen. And by extension, they don't care nothing about you. In 2018, Glen promised to finish it. I ask you, is it finished yet? They keep promising more and delivering. The people of St. George North have had enough. I hear it in their voices. I see it in their faces. The disappointment, the anger, the frustrations. Now I got a laundry of issues, a long list of issues coming from the constituency of St. George North. I talking to my people and I listening to their woes. Number one, the state of the roads in St. George North, horrible. One very vocal resident and a staunch supporter of the Barbados Labour Party describes St. George North as the pothole capital of Barbados. The road from Market Hill to Bridgecourt and Cottage is really a pothole masquerading as a road. In the lead up to the 2018 election, Glenn promised he would fix it. 2 years gone, it fixed. They promised to fix the junction at Cottage, one of the most dangerous in our road network. It fixed. Just the other day, I went in Erie Hill the other day. I went in Erie Hill and I visited the old lady. The old lady said to me, Mr. Reifer, I just came from the doctor. I had an operation. My doctor told me I need to go outside on evenings, exercise, walk around, stretch my feet, get some air in the lungs. But you know, Mr. Reifer, I cannot walk around my neighborhood. The potholes are so big that me and my king will fall down. I went down Sweet Bottom. And before I could get out my car, I said, Reifer, I'm glad to see you. I want you to take a video of these ridiculous roads down here. Because when you take videos and put them on social media, things is happening. Big words. I can't even drive my car down here. I got to change shocks and tires regularly. 26 years. 26 years this happening. All across St. George North, I get in calls. Mr. Reifer, come and see the overgrown bush that grew up tall, tall, tall. The mosquitoes, the rats festering. And you know it's government land. It's government land. And don't matter how much the people call, they're not getting any response. But let me tell you something. My heart hurt me when I went through superlative in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, they still got people with pit toilets. Pit toilets in 2020. My gosh, ridiculous. We have heard the excuse from Glenn that his party was not in power. Every single feeling he says, but my party was not in power. But let me tell you this. Listen to me carefully. Mayor Montley and Glenn Clark entered the House of Assembly at the same time in 1994. They have represented their constituencies for 26 years. You ever hear about a bad road in St. Michael Northeast that didn't get fixed? You ever hear about anybody in Bushon ring the foot in a pothole? You ever hear about a flooding in St. Michael Northeast that wasn't addressed? You ever hear about street lights in St. Michael Northeast that weren't replaced? You ever hear about brown water coming through the pipes in St. Michael Northeast? And Miss Motley was in Parliament the same length of time as Glenn. I ask you why. Why St. George North get treated so bad? You mean even in the last 2 years, nothing can be done? If they did nothing in the last 26, and more of nothing in the last 2, then it's not hard to think that they will give you even more of nothing if you give them the vote. St. George North, do we not deserve better? Do we? No longer are we going to let them trick us. People asking me, Reifer, what you could really do for me in opposition? If you get it, what you could really do for me? You know what I tell them? I ain't even in Parliament yet. And look how I got them chipping. I brought in bouncers and Yorkers daily. Relentless. Check the buzz in Flat Rock. The pavilion down with the glade blocks going up. I open the paper and see an article resurfaced about the quarry. The residents talk to me about the unbearable noise and the dust. I talk about the stench from the dump. And all the roads down in St. George now, all the potholes getting filled in all of a sudden now. Things happening. Thank God for by-election. I promise you, St. George North, that when you elect me as your representative, I will continue to shed light on all of our issues. I can make them shame. Shame is what they should feel and how they neglect me all the years. They want debates. You know I can tell them about these debates. Bring the microphone. Bring the podium. Let me get down by lower state dump and hear that stench. Let me debate down there. Let me go up by the overgrown bush and cottage. And let me debate. Let me go up by superlative, by the pit toilets. Let me debate to the people over there why they still have pit toilets. Let me go. I'm ready. I will not be distracted. What is politics? Politics is about representation. This is no time for gimmicks and grandstanding when people suffering, people hurting, people unemployed, people frustrated. Every spare minute I get, I will spend with my people. This election is about credibility and trust. Who to believe and who to put your faith in. You cannot trust a woman that on May 1st, 2017, opposed the construction of the Hyatt and said in her words, this is what she said, "It is scary when in challenging times, economic forces seem to be positive only in the direction of a privileged few. Well, today, the Hyatt is on its way. And she is no longer bothered that the privileged few are getting through. In fact, by her own actions, she has proven she's already part of the clique. You cannot trust a woman that sells the workers to the highest bidder and join the most anti-worker administration in the history of Barbados. Charles will frankly say so, and I believe that. You too? Okay. But you know, she's a small part of a much larger problem. That much larger problem is the classism, the elitism, and the arrogance of the Barbados Labour Party. The classism is displayed when on a Barbados Labour Party platform, when Mr. Delight Bradshaw can declare, any idiot can play cricket. Now, they try hard to erase this from social media, but I got it. I got it, folks. Look at the video. Look at the video. Take a look at the video.
Representing people, man. What nonsense you talk about teaching about a bottom ball? Any idiot can play cricket. You might be the best of the second class. Now I'm going to say this to you. Don't let me go there, Mr. Reifer.
Very disturbing, very disturbing. Elitists. This is a type of behavior that springs from a 30-love victory. What exactly is the message being sent to you, the people of St. George North? What message are they sending to young people aspiring to make a career of sport? Second class? So you telling me that cigar-free sobers, our living national hero, is an idiot? So Wesley Hall, a great cricketer, member of parliament, former minister of tourism, is an idiot? Jason Holder, our current West Indies Test captain, #1 all-rounder in the world, is he an idiot? All these fellas that play cricket in Sheffield, the Glebe, Market Hill, Roach Village, you're telling me all these people are idiots? I feel strongly against this. Many of you know my family is a cricketing family, so this cuts me deep. But people of St. George North, you know what I realized? You know what I realized in the last 24 hours, after the insults that came from Tony Moore's platform? We saw a written statement from the originator of the comment. But what is more telling was a video circulating with a comment from the Minister of Sport. A lot of rhetoric, fluff. But you know what was the most glaring observation? There was Tony Moore standing next to Dwight Sutherland. And not once did she take the microphone and condemn what was said on her platform. Definitely. St. George North, Tony Moore continues to hide behind people's coattails. She hide behind Trotman coattail. She hide behind the PM coattail. And yesterday she was hiding behind Dwight Sutherland's coattail. She has no backbone. This is who she is. Is that the type of representation you want? She cannot even face the public on this issue. She refuses to face the people of St. George North on this issue. And they want to represent us? No way. I play cricket all over the world in front of hostile crowds, under pressure, crowds of over 50,000 people. And she can't even face 9,000 constituents in St. George North. But let me tell you something. I want the parents of children that play sport in St. George North, when they come out your door, ask them which one of my children is an idiot. I am calling tonight on all of the people in St. George North to boycott Tony Moore. Her silence on this issue speaks volumes. Boycott Tony Moore on November the 11th. Vote for Reifer. No more Tony. Repeat after me. One more time. Another time. Look at this. With my cell phone. I want all of you here tonight, and those watching on live stream, to go on to the Vote Floyd Reifer Facebook page now and post no more Tony. I want to hashtag it too. Hashtag it. And everywhere. I say to you tonight, in this election, let your voices be heard. Mark your X for Floyd Reifer. Back with me. When I go to Parliament, I am taking you on my shoulders. When I walk from house to house in the it's you I want to help. This is who we are. This is who I am. On November 11th, I am calling on all Democratic Labour Party supporters and all Barbados Labour Party supporters. To those of you independent, come out. Now is the time. No more Tony. Let me hear it again. Again. Vote for Floyd Reifer. Vote for a change. Restore our democracy. God bless St. George North. God bless Barbados. Good night. The people of St. George North, I love you.
Give Floyd the vote, let me give Floyd the vote. St. George North is supporting me, give Floyd the vote, let me give Floyd the vote. Representing for the young man, give Floyd the vote, let me give Floyd the vote. St. George North is supporting me, give Floyd the vote, let me give Floyd. Together we can build this community up. Flat rock, what a win, win, win. When Reifer get in. A Newbury got a win, win, win. When Reifer get in. Tear Hill got a win, win, win. When Reifer get in. Salters got a win, win, win. When Reifer get in. We don't want no more. No gimmicks, no lies. We don't want no more. No tricky union ties. We don't want no more. Tell Tony and me up. When I'm all sweet, but we battle with Reifer 6. Give Floyd the vote. Let me give Floyd the vote. St. George North is supporting me. Give Floyd the vote. Let me give Floyd the vote. Representing for the young man. Give Floyd the vote. Let me give Floyd the vote. St. George North is supporting me. Give Floyd the vote. Let me give Floyd the vote. Together we can build this community.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's our candidate, and that's the next representative for St. George North, Floyd Lamont Reifer. Ladies and gentlemen, just reminding you that next Sunday night we'll be at Market Hill. Come out in your large numbers as you are here tonight, and to hear some more of the gospel according to the Democratic Labour Party. I have a pair of spectacles here. Somebody may have misplaced them. We have them on the platform, a pair of, look like small glasses, small spectacles. You can collect them from the platform. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker and our final speaker are recently re-elected President of the Democratic Labour Party, small in stature but a towering repository of knowledge, courage, steadfastness, and resilience. I give you, ladies and gentlemen, President of the Democratic Labour Party, Miss Verla Depeiza.
How are you doing? I see you in a while. Thank you. Good night, St. George North. Thank you for staying with us. It is after 11 o'clock, so I will not keep you too much longer. But I could not come here tonight and not tell you how pleased I am with the development of Floyd Reifer in the last 10 days. They want to say that he can't talk. You heard him for yourself just now. But I can tell you, I would rather a man who can't speak than one who speaks the Queen's English and uses it to offend. Because that is what you were treated to by Delisle Bradshaw. Just because you got pretty education does not mean that you have a connection with the people. And Floyd Reifer has demonstrated from day one. From day one, and I'm not talking from day one of his nomination by the Democratic Labour Party, but from day one when he stood up on behalf of the people of St. George North and said, it is time. That was the moment when you knew that you had somebody who wanted to speak on your behalf. And every night he has come out, and with each speech that he makes, he gets better and better and better. So he don't have to talk about ripping out anybody's throat. He comes up here and he speaks to you from his heart. And he has them running scared. That is why they're talking so much nonsense and running into trouble. And great educator as he is, he doesn't know how to deliver an apology. All I have to say to you people of St. George North, step in line behind Floyd Reifer. Step in line on the day of election and make your vote count for change in this country. Because we are witnessing a moment when the ship of state in this country is listing and taking on water and is rudderless. And you, the people of St. George North, carry the mantle for the whole of the country to assist the Democratic Labour Party in righting the ship of state. It is not good enough. It is not good enough. I am not here to prosecute Glenn Clark. He has gone. He has chosen his way. Whether it is in his best interest or not, he's chosen it. But you can see for yourself the state of the roads in this constituency. You can see for yourself the closed up community centers. All of a sudden, Floyd got them talking about community centers. Every day, Floyd steps out in the morning and speaks about an issue, and by the evening, they could talk about it too, and they got a solution for it. It is as though they had no idea what to do for 2.5 years approximately. And one man has come and shown them up. And that is how you, the people of St. George North, know that you have a leader in Floyd Reifer. And that he is the one for you on the 11th of November. And I have stopped and I have wondered the significance of the 11th of November. A day when we usually as a country pause to remember those who gave their lives in war and have ceremony. And now this year, we have a spectacle to detract from that. What is the real reason for this by-election? And that is the question you have to ask them when they appear on your doorstep in red shirts. Why are you bringing me out now on a day of remembrance in a time of COVID for a by-election? Was there no one else that could go to Canada? You are the arbiters of the fate of this country, people of St. George North. You are the ones who can bring an end, beginning the 11th of November, to the high-handedness that is the full example of this by-election. You know how much you loved your last representative because it was personable, and we won't take that from him. But whether or not things got done in here is a whole other story. But one man has shown up on the scene since the 1st of October. And today, almost the 19th of October, you can see